Chapter 1687. It had to be said that the divine mathematician was really powerful. Not to mention his true body, Justice Clone had the strength of a 9th-level starry sky cultivator. With the seal removed, the Tianwu continent was temporarily out of danger. On a desolate mountain peak, Longao had been in the dragon seal space and had not left. As for Xing Kuan and the others, they had not left after setting up the seal. The two sides were in a stalemate. Now it was a competition to see who had more patience. The night was dark. At this moment, a figure suddenly descended on the mountain peak. Purple Thunder? Looking at the Purple Thunder ancestor who suddenly appeared in front of him, Xing Kuan's face instantly sank because he had already guessed why the Purple Thunder ancestor had come here. Purple Thunder, do you insist on being the enemy of the world? Ha ha ha, the world? Can you represent the world? What a joke, it's simply a big joke. The Purple Thunder ancestor sneered. His laughter was full of ridicule, contempt, and even more disdain. Xing Kuan and the Purple Thunder ancestors' cultivation had reached the so-called Nirvana rebirth realm. The only difference was, Xing Kuan's strength was above the Purple Thunder ancestors, but even so, it would not be easy for him to kill the Purple Thunder ancestor. This was a little different from the Black Heaven ancestors' situation. 10,000 years ago, the Black Heaven ancestors' strength was the weakest. Moreover, Tongzun and the Thousand Beasts ancestor had joined forces to kill him. Brother Purple Thunder, why do you have to do this? Looking at the sudden appearance of the Purple Thunder ancestor, Longao was very surprised, but more than that, he was touched. He had never thought that the Purple Thunder ancestor would appear at this time, because except for Xing Kuan and the others, the surrounding experts had not left. The Purple Thunder ancestor's appearance had already shown his attitude, so the Purple Thunder ancestor's situation was a little troublesome. Once a brother, we'll be brothers for life. Nodding heavily, Longao did not say anything more. Once a brother, we'll be brothers for life. Purple Thunder, you dare to offend the world, I can tell you that you will regret it. Sneering, Purple Thunder ancestor ignored Xing Kuan. In any case, this battle was unavoidable. Since that was the case, why should he continue to dawdle and speak more nonsense? You two are really good. Forefather. Being stared at by Purple Thunder ancestor, both Yi Wutian and Yi Wudi were terrified to the extreme. Even with Xing Kuan in front of them, this fear still existed. No matter what, the old ancestor's strength was obvious. I am no longer your ancestor. This sentence clearly showed Purple Thunder ancestor's attitude. His face paled in an instant, and he quickly retreated. At this point, even if they were afraid, there was nothing they could do. Thinking of this, Yi Wutian and Yi Wudi stood firm again. Yi Wutian sneered and said, Zile, don't blame us. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself. Blame me? Purple Thunder ancestor's face was full of disdain. Betrayal was already shameless enough. Now, the two of them were pushing all the blame onto themselves. They were simply shameless to the extreme. Shameless beyond compare. Shameless to the point that it was disgusting. Longao's face was also full of mockery. Without the slightest care, Yi Wutian suddenly burst into laughter. His laughter was desolate and full of anger. Purple Thunder, the three of us loyally guarded the Purple Thunder sect for thousands of years. What did we get in return? The more he spoke, the angrier he became, the more unwilling he became. We worked hard to conquer the world for the Purple Thunder sect, but we didn't get what we deserved. Instead, for an outsider, a piece of trash, you killed my third brother. Purple Thunder, do you think you are worthy of us? Hearing this, the disdain and ridicule on Purple Thunder's face disappeared without a trace. Deeply sighing in his heart, Purple Thunder ancestor knew that he had wronged the two of them. No matter what, as Yi Wutian had said, the three of them had done their best for the sect. But did he have a solution? Yi Wutian, stop it. Right and wrong have their own justice. Whether it was you or Big Brother Purple Thunder who was wrong, I believe you know better than anyone else. Longao was too lazy to continue listening. It was still the same words. This battle was unavoidable. Without Purple Thunder Ancestor's help, Longao didn't have the slightest confidence in defeating Xing Kuan's group of 7. Not to mention the other 6, just Xing Kuan's strength was like a giant mountain, firmly suppressing him. With Big Brother Purple Thunder's appearance, the situation had been completely reversed. In the current situation, Longao had full confidence that even if he couldn't defeat Xing Kuan's group of 7, he could still leave without a hitch. Big Brother Purple Thunder, can you give me 10 minutes? Purple Thunder Ancestor certainly knew the meaning of Longao's words. After thinking for a moment, he said with confidence, Brother Long, give me 10 minutes. Although he didn't know what Longao wanted to do, Purple Thunder Ancestor supported him unconditionally. Not to mention, even if his strength was not as good as Xing Kuan's, 10 minutes was more than enough. Not only him, but any Nirvana Rebirth martial artist, even those who had just stepped into Nirvana Rebirth, believed that they could delay for 10 minutes. With Purple Thunder Ancestor's promise, Longao suddenly had Long Chong, Long Ming, and Samsara Doppelganger by his side. This was also Longao's strongest fighting force. 1 Nirvana Rebirth martial artist and 4 Oneness of Heaven martial artists. Feeling the terrifying strength of the 3 people beside Longao, Xing Kuan's group of 7 didn't look too good. They didn't want to be the first ones to stand out, but now they had to be the ones to stand out. Once the battle started, although Xing Kuan was confident that he could defeat Longao's group, he couldn't guarantee that he would be able to keep Longao here. If his side suffered losses, he wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. Old Ancestor, are we going to fight or not? As the palace master of the Azura Palace, Xing Kuan had more concerns than Xing Kuan. If there were any losses, it would be a huge blow to the Azura Palace. Xing Kuan didn't want to take the risk. Without Purple Thunder Ancestor, Xing Kuan would never give up. Even if there were countless experts around, he was still full of confidence. As long as he could get Jianling's soul, he would immediately escape. With his strength and speed, as long as it wasn't the divine mathematician or the heavenly Tao, no one would be able to find him. Purple Thunder Ancestor's sudden appearance had completely disrupted his wishful thinking. If he met force with force and failed to capture Longao, how could he face the Azura Palace? Xing Kuan was depressed to the extreme. Did he have to give up just like that? Unwillingness, 10,000 unwillingness filled his whole body. Chapter 1688. Fight or not? Xing Kuan was a little unwilling to give up like this. But what could he do? Countless people were waiting for him to make a move. With the addition of Purple Thunder Ancestor, the variables of this battle were really great. Xing and the others did not dare to say anything. The initiative to fight or not was in the hands of the Ancestor. They had no right to decide. Yi Wutian and Yi Wudi were waiting anxiously. In their hearts, they certainly hoped to fight, because only in this way could Longao and even Purple Thunder Ancestor fall. Things had come to this point.
It was either you die or I die.
They certainly hoped that Purple Thunder Ancestor would fall, not that they would have endless troubles in the future. Time went by little. Longao and Purple Thunder Ancestor did not take the initiative to attack, because they did not want to fight either. In the end, Longao, I'll let you go this time, but don't think that you'll be fine. Let's go. Xing Kuan was the first to leave, followed by Xing. You two also want to leave. Hearing Purple Thunder Ancestor's words, both Yi Wutian and Yi Wudi's faces instantly darkened. Xing Kuan had already left. If Purple Thunder Ancestor really wanted to deal with them, how could they deal with it? They were very self-aware. They were very clear that not to mention Longao, just Purple Thunder Ancestor alone, even if the two of them joined hands, they still wouldn't be able to withstand 10 moves from Purple Thunder Ancestor. This was the disparity. Just as the two of them were worried, Longao suddenly said, Big Brother Purple Thunder, leave the two of them to me. Longao told himself in his heart that the lives of these two people were his. Yi Wutian, Yi Wudi, I know you two want to kill me to avenge your brother. I'll give you a chance. I hope you won't fall so soon. I'll find you in person. You alone? Longao will wait for you. They were very afraid of Purple Thunder Ancestor, but it did not mean that they were afraid of Longao. In their opinion, even if Longao had broken through the unity of heaven and man realm, he would not be a match for the two of them. This was because their cultivation had already successfully broken through the heaven multiplying cycle. The two of them did not continue to speak, turning around and leaving quickly. They were not sure if the Purple Thunder Ancestor and Longao would go back on their words. Looking at the disappearing figure, Longao snorted coldly. Longao didn't have the confidence to eliminate Nirvana and Nirvana Rebirth martial artists, but he didn't care about the multiplication of cycles. Longao was confident that he could kill a heavenly cycle multiplication martialist if he used all his strength, even if it was a heavenly cycle multiplication martialist. If not for this, Longao would not have let go of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Brother Long, cut the weeds and get rid of the roots to prevent future troubles. With regards to Big Brother Purple Thunder's intentions, how could Longao not understand? In Purple Thunder Ancestor's opinion, even if Longao was strong, it was a bit of a fool's dream to kill Yi Wutian and Yi Wutian by himself. With him here, especially under such circumstances, it was the best time to kill the two. Big Brother Purple Thunder, I have the confidence to kill the two of them. Leave this opportunity to me. Staring at the young man in front of him, Purple Thunder Ancestor sighed deeply. Since Brother Long had said so, what else could he say? Brother Long, although Xing Kuan has left this time, I believe that he will definitely not give up, especially since there are Nirvana realm powerhouses everywhere. As long as Jianling's primordial spirit is in your body, they will not let you go. Thinking of this, Longao's face turned solemn. It was true that one wrong step led to many wrong steps. He thought that Myriad Beast's ancestor would certainly not reveal this matter, but he never thought that Myriad Beast's ancestor would not hesitate to reveal this matter in order to deal with him. Facing the world's powerhouses, it would be unrealistic to say that he was not afraid. Big Brother Purple Thunder, I don't want to implicate you. Brother Long, I've already said that once we're brothers, we'll be brothers for life. If you continue to say such words, then our brotherhood ends here. In the future, you will walk your own path, and I will walk my own path. Since Purple Thunder Ancestor had already said so, what else could Longao say? Big Brother Purple Thunder, what are you going to do now? It was precisely because of this brotherhood that Longao did not want to implicate Purple Thunder Ancestor. Purple Thunder Ancestor knew what Longao meant. He said helplessly, Brother Long, I have a suggestion. Why don't you listen to it? Big Brother Purple Thunder, please say it. Brother Long, I believe you should be very clear about the current situation. If you continue to stay here, there will only be one result. Not only you, but even your wife will not be able to escape. Longao was not angry because he knew very well that if it were not for their good relationship, Purple Thunder Ancestor would not have said this. If they did not have a good relationship, as soon as they said such words, they would immediately become hostile. In serious cases, they might even meet on the battlefield. Brother Long, it would be better for you to hide for now. Wait until your cultivation base breaks through to the Nirvana Rebirth realm, or even the Starry Sky realm. At that time, no one on the Martial Heaven continent will dare to have any thoughts of betrayal. Hide? Could he hide? Longao was very helpless. He was very clear that even if he was willing to temporarily withdraw from Jianghu, the surrounding experts would not let him off so easily. He didn't care about it, but what about his family? Thinking of that, Longao said firmly, Big Brother Purple Thunder, there is no place for me in this world. However, I've already decided that no matter who it is, anyone who wants to take my wife will be killed without mercy. If one comes, I'll kill one. If two come, I'll kill two. Purple Thunder Ancestor was very clear about Longao's character. As long as Longao decided on something, it would not change under normal circumstances. Even if he tried to persuade him, it would be useless. Big Brother Purple Thunder, after this matter, I'll be even more careful. With the help of spatial teleportation, after a few teleportations, Longao's figure had already disappeared without a trace. He had to admit that with the rapid breakthrough of his cultivation, the power of Longao's spatial teleportation had also greatly increased. Looking at Longao's departing figure, Purple Thunder Ancestor sighed. He was very clear that the biggest reason Longao had been so impatient to leave was because he didn't want to implicate him. If he continued to chase after him, it would make things difficult for Longao. The battle at the peak of the barren mountain was on the verge of breaking out at any moment. Everyone was watching the fire from the other side of the river. It would be best if Longao and Xingkuan were both injured. At that time, they would be able to sit back and reap the benefits. But the result? Longao and Xingkuan were already on the verge of a great battle, but in the end, they did not fight. This caused everyone around them to be extremely depressed. They cursed fiercely in their hearts. However, things had already happened. Everyone could only quietly follow them. No one continued to be the first to stand out. Chapter 1689. Longao's speed was extremely fast. Especially with the help of spatial teleportation, he left everyone behind, including hundreds of Nirvana realm warriors. He quietly returned to the Dragon Sect. Although Longao was not around, the Dragon Sect did not stop developing. Under the leadership of Lu Li and Yun Luoshan, the Dragon Sect had become the strongest among the second-rated forces. As for the Azura Palace, the Tianwu continent was a tripod. With the destruction of the Black Heaven Sect, the 10 tripod had become the 9 tripod. After one was destroyed, another would take its place. The replacement of the Black Heaven Sect was none other than the strongest second-rated force, the Azura Palace. In other words, the current Azura Palace was no longer a so-called second-rate power. Instead, it was one of the 10 great tripods, If it was any other sect, no one would be convinced. Only the Azura Palace. With Xingkuan in charge of the Azura Palace, who in the Tianwu continent would dare to disobey? The 10 tripod. With the destruction of the Black Heaven Sect, the 10 tripod was now divided into the Long Family Alchemy Guild, Martial Artists Alliance, Wanshou Sect, Heaven and Earth Sect, Five Element Sect, Wanzhong School, Sword Sect, Purple Thunder Sect, and Azura Palace. As soon as he stepped into the Dragon Sect, Yun Luoshan immediately reported, "Master, I just received news that with the destruction of the Black Heaven Sect, the Azura Palace has become one of the 10 tripod." He was not surprised at all. Longao had already guessed that Xingkuan was not someone who was willing to be ordinary. With the destruction of the Black Heaven Sect, if Xingkuan still did not take action, then he would not be Xingkuan. It was just that what Longao never thought was that Xingkuan's speed was so fast. It seemed that the others had already acknowledged the Azura Palace's position. Unbelievable. A time of turmoil was a time of turmoil. It could not be compared to a normal time. Longao could almost say that if this was in the past, would the other 9 superforces agree? There was no doubt about it. No one was willing to provoke the Azura Palace, because everyone knew that if they were to fight one-on-one, no one would be Xingkuan's opponent. Even if they were able to defeat the Azura Palace in the end, they would suffer great losses. Losing 1,000 to the enemy and losing 800 to themselves, who would be willing to try such a result? If the 9 superpowers were to join forces, destroying the Azura Palace would be a piece of cake. However, would the 9 superpowers work together in such a chaotic time? It was precisely because of this that the Azura Palace became one of the 10 great sects. Everything went smoothly, without any opposition. Seeing that the master didn't say anything, Yun Luoshan and the other 2 looked at each other and saw a trace of surprise in each other's eyes. What happened to Master? Since the Azura Palace has already become one of the 10 great powers, we can now claim the title of the second-tier power. Master, forgive me for being blunt. Please. Longao was well aware of their abilities. Although he was the master of the Dragon Sect, he was not in the sect most of the time. He still had to rely on the 3 of them for everything. In such a short period of time, the 3 of them were able to lead the sect to such a level. This in itself spoke volumes of their talents. The 3 of them were able to achieve this not only because of their talents, but also because of the army of 300,000 corpse slaves. This was not something to be trifled with. Not to mention a second-tier power. Even if it were one of the 10 great sects, no one would be willing to face the army of corpse slaves. Thinking back to the time when the Martial Artists Alliance and the Wanshou sect joined forces, they still couldn't fight against the army of 200,000 corpse slaves. Master, since the battle at the Phoenix Peak, the news of you and your wife has spread across the world. If we continue to expand, I'm afraid it will backfire.
What do you mean?
Master, if it was something else, it might not be a problem. However, I believe that Master knows how tempting the starry sky primordial spirit is. Even if it's a chaotic time, once these people get jealous, I'm afraid that they will join forces to deal with us. So that's how it is. If Yun Luoshan didn't mention it, Longao wouldn't have cared. Now that he thought about it, if all the sects joined forces to deal with him, even if he had 3 heads and 6 arms, it would be difficult for him to resist. As the saying goes, 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. Elder Yun, do you have a plan?
Yes.
This time, it wasn't Yun Luoshan who spoke, but Yun Feng. As for Yun Feng, Longao admired him a lot. He was careless, rough but meticulous. Although he was reckless sometimes, it didn't matter. Let's hear it. Of course, Yun Feng could feel that this master valued him very much. Otherwise, he wouldn't have interrupted him just now. Yun Luoshan smiled and didn't take it to heart. Master, now everyone is eyeing you covetously. In the end, it's because we are not strong enough. If we can deter everyone who would dare to covet you. Longao was certainly clear about this problem, but knowing it was one thing, and finding a way to deal with it was another. After all, strength wasn't something that could be achieved by talking. The only way to deter the world was if the Dragon Sect had Starry Sky martial artists. However, it wouldn't be easy for his elder brother and grandfather to integrate the Starry Sky inheritance. It would take at least 3 years. As for how long it would take, no one knew. In addition to Starry Sky martial artists, there was another thing, which was Nirvana martial artists, especially Nirvana Rebirth martial artists. No matter which one it was a little unrealistic with the current strength of the Dragon Sect. Longao didn't say anything, but the expression on his face had already explained his attitude. Yun Feng continued, Master, I wonder if you've heard of the Massacre Abyss? Massacre Abyss? Damn, of course he had heard of it. Not only had he heard of it, he had even gone there personally. Especially the 5 Abyss Masters, who had chosen to submit to him and were also unwilling to follow him. Until now, he still couldn't figure out why no one wanted to follow him. Could it be that they had nothing to do and were bored? Longao didn't hide anything, because in his heart, he really did treat the 3 of them as his own people. Therefore, Longao roughly told them about his trip to the Massacre Abyss, and how the 5 Abyss Masters had chosen to submit to him, but were unwilling to follow him. After listening, the 5 of them sighed. They never thought that their master had actually gone to the Massacre Abyss, and that such a thing had happened. It should be known that their master was only a divine way martial artist back then, but he was able to have such achievements. If they hadn't heard it with their own ears, it would have been a little hard to believe. Master, in this case, we don't need to dawdle this time. We can directly suppress the 5 of them with our strength. According to the information I received, the 5 Abyss Masters are all comprehending the heaven and earth. Not to mention others, I alone am enough to suppress the 5 of them. Master, please believe me. Chapter 1690. Comprehending heaven and earth was not on the same level as becoming one with the world. Yun Luoshan's cultivation base had already broken through becoming one with the world, which was why he had so much confidence. Longao shook his head. Master, you don't believe me? Yun Luoshan was not the only one who was surprised. Even Yun Feng and Azurite were surprised. Even if the 5 Lords of the Abyss joined forces, they might not be a match for Yun Luoshan.
No.
No? If not, then what? Yun Luoshan could not figure it out, and neither could Yun Feng and Azurite, because the master's behavior had already made his attitude clear. He thought that Yun Luoshan was no match for the 5 Lords of the Abyss. Elder Yun, the 5 Lords of the Abyss are not as simple as they seem. Master, what do you mean? Yun Luoshan and the other 2 were not fools. They knew very well that since the master said so, there must be something fishy going on. What kind of trick was this? Elder Yun, according to my guess and my previous dealings with the 5 of them, I can almost say that 4 of the 5 lords of the abyss have reached cycle multiplication, and 1 has reached nirvana stage.
Huh?
Hearing those words, the 3 of them were shocked. That was because the 3 of them did not have the slightest bit of doubt towards the words of their sect master. It was because of this that the 3 of them never thought that the 5 lords of the abyss were hiding something. There were 5 lords of the abyss in the massacre abyss. They were Hong Lingtong, the Lord of the East and the only nirvana stage martial artist among the 5 lords of the abyss, Luo Qingfeng, the Lord of the West, Yang Ling, the Lord of the South, Guoli, the Lord of the North, and Yi Chen, the Lord of the Middle. Apart from Hong Lingtong, the other 4 lords of the abyss were all cycle multiplication martial artists. It was really troublesome to rely on one's own strength to subdue the 5 lords of the abyss. The 3 of them did not continue to say anything. They knew very well that if it was really as the master said, that the 5 lords of the massacre abyss were all cycle multiplication martial artists, and 1 of them had reached nirvana stage, then the 3 of them alone would not be enough. Not to mention them, even a nirvana stage martial artist might not be able to deal with the 5 of them. Leader, you've said before that the 5 lords of the abyss chose to submit to you for no reason at all.
Why?
He shook his head. Until now, Longao still had not figured out what exactly happened back then. Why did the 5 lords choose to submit to him? Longao could clearly sense that the 5 of them did not choose to submit to him willingly. Seemed to have been threatened. But what was the reason? The master? If the master lord. Tell me. Longao also wanted to hear Luli's analysis because he really wanted to know what had happened. Luli thought for a moment and said, Sect Master, according to my guess, the most likely reason why the 5 lords of the abyss chose to submit to you is that there's a mysterious expert behind them and they were forced to submit to you. However, it's obvious that they weren't sincere. Longao had already thought of Luli's analysis. The most likely reason was that the 5 lords of the abyss had a terrifying and mysterious expert behind them. To be able to make the 5 lords of the abyss obey him, the strength of this mysterious expert was imaginable. At the very least, he was a so-called nirvana stage martial artist. He couldn't be a starry sky martial artist. Why would the mysterious expert help him? Longao was certain that the mysterious expert was nowhere to be found. Otherwise, why would the 5 lords of the abyss choose to submit to him and not listen to him? Things were really troublesome.
What you said is also what I think.
If we can get the help of the 5 lords of the abyss, then the situation will be reversed. Let's not talk about the Dragon Valley for now. Just the current dragon sect alone, including Longao, Reincarnation Avatar, Long Chong, and Long Ming, had a total of 7 nirvana stage martial artists. Even if this strength was placed in a second-rate force, it was still in existence that could dominate. However, it would be a little difficult to fight against the 10-direction tripod. However, if the 5 lords of the abyss were added, then the situation would be completely different. Yunluishan and the other 2 left quietly, leaving Longao alone in the Great Hall. No one knew what he was thinking. The massacre abyss. Yunluishan was right. With the current strength of the dragon sect, it was more than enough to dominate second-rate forces. However, if they wanted to enter a first-rate force, this strength was still a little insufficient. If they could completely subdue the 5 lords of the massacre abyss, then the strength of the sect would immediately rise to a new level. What should they do? After thinking about it, Longao decided to go to the massacre abyss. This time, no matter what happened, they had to deal with the 5 lords of the abyss. This time, Longao did not go to the massacre abyss alone. Instead, he brought 3 people, Yunluishan, Yunfeng, and Luli. As for the dragon sect, it was temporarily under the charge of several protectors. After they left, the dragon sect would focus on defense. The massacre abyss was dominated by 5 lords of the abyss. They were the East Lord of the Abyss, Hong Lingtong, the West Lord of the Abyss, Luo Qingfeng, the South Lord of the Abyss, Yang Ling, the North Lord of the Abyss, Guo Li, and the Middle Lord of the Abyss, Yi Chen. Among them, Hong Lingtong, the East Lord of the Abyss, was a Nirvana martial artist. As for the other 4 Lords of the Abyss, they were all oneness of heaven and man martial artists. With such strength, even if they were not as strong as the 10-direction tripod, they were not to be trifled with. This was the Massacre Abyss. For a long time, the Massacre Abyss had been dominated by the 5 Lords of the Abyss. However, the real master behind the scenes was not the 5 Lords of the Abyss, but Longao's ancestor, Long Batian, the so-called Starry Sky Cultivator. Longao still did not know about this matter. If he knew, he believed that Longao would be able to guess why the 5 Lords of the Abyss would suddenly choose him for no reason, but they were unwilling. After entering the Massacre Abyss, Longao did not hesitate in the slightest and immediately summoned the 5 Lords of the Abyss. Without beating around the bush, he said directly, "The 5 of you, I have only one purpose in coming here this time, and that is to completely end the Massacre Abyss. You will follow me to conquer the world. As for your identity, from now on, you will be elders of the Dragon Sect. What do you think?" The 5 of them sneered in their hearts and did not take it seriously at all. It was not the first time Longao had come here, and the 5 of them had long been accustomed to it. Hong Lingtong said with a smile, "Longao, forgive us for being unable to help you with this matter." Chapter 1691. They were powerless. Hearing the 5's open refusal, Yun Luoshan and the other 2's expressions instantly darkened. Would they care? Without a doubt, the 5 didn't care about them at all. They didn't even care about Longao. If the 5 Abyss Masters of the Slaughter Abyss really chose to submit to Longao, what face would they have left? If Long Tianba hadn't left, would the 5 of them dare to do this? "What if I defeat you?" Longao wasn't surprised by the 5's refusal. It would be strange if the 5 of them agreed. Longao was also very curious as to why the 5 of them were so stubborn and unwilling to submit to him. "Longao, if you can defeat the 5 of us, we will immediately submit. From now on, we will never be disloyal." Before, the 5 of them had called him master, but now they didn't even call him master. They directly called him Longao. In the eyes of the 5 of them, they had never trusted Longao. Even if Longao had broken through to the Nirvana realm, he was still trash in their hearts. If Longao could defeat the 5 of them, they would choose to submit. "Longao, if you don't have confidence, you can add in the 3 of them." When he said those words, Hong Lingtong's face, including the faces of the other 4 people, was filled with disdain at the same time. There was even more disdain and ridicule. The 5 of them could clearly sense that of the 3 people Longao had brought, 2 had comprehended the heavens and earth, and 1 had comprehended the heavens and man unity. In front of the 5 of them, the 3 of them couldn't even block 3 moves. This was the difference in strength. In the Nirvana realm, every step was like ascending to the heavens. "Follow me." Looking at the confident Longao, the 5 of them looked at each other, seeming to see a trace of surprise in each other's eyes. The more confident Longao was, the less confident the 5 of them felt. Could it be that Longao had come prepared? There's no need to worry. You and I both know Longao's situation very well. Let's wait for the 5 of us to join forces. Don't fight alone. I don't believe that Longao can defeat us. If that's the case, we'll just choose to surrender. Previously, the 5 Abyss Masters had been fighting openly and secretly. They were like water and fire, but now that Longao had joined them, the 5 of them had joined hands. Furthermore, given the current situation, the Martial Heaven continent was in chaos. The 5 of them knew that if they didn't join hands now, who knew if they would be destroyed? The 5 of them followed closely behind. As for Lu Li and the other 2, their faces were filled with helplessness. They were very clear about their master's character. Once he had decided on something, it was very difficult to change his mind under normal circumstances. "I hope that master can win." If that's the case, we will have 5 more Nirvana realm cultivators, which will be very beneficial to our current situation. Can Master win? Yun Luoshan and Yun Feng were skeptical. If they were at the same level, they would have 100% confidence in their master. But now, the 5 of them were genuine heavenly cycle cultivators, and one of them was even a Nirvana realm martial artist. It would be strange if their master could win. Of the 3 of them, only Lu Li didn't say anything. She had chosen to believe in their master from the beginning. In her eyes, Longao was a smart person. If he wasn't completely confident, would his master agree so easily? The desolate surroundings were filled with a desolate aura. Longao, you only have one chance. If you lose this time, I hope that you will never step into the slaughter abyss again. The 5 of them were clearly a bit irritated. That was because Longao had come again and again. Even if Longao wasn't annoyed, they still couldn't bear it. However, they still didn't dare to kill Longao. The reason was very simple. It was because of the mysterious expert behind him. Although they didn't know what the relationship between the black-robed expert and Longao was, the 5 of them were certain that their relationship wasn't simple. It would be easy to kill Longao, but it wouldn't be worth it if they got themselves killed in the process. This battle forced Longao to retreat in the face of difficulties. If he never entered the slaughter abyss again, that would be for the best. Longao agreed readily. In an instant, the 2 of them had already made a bet. If Longao lost this battle, he would never step into the slaughter abyss again. If the 5 abyss lords lost, they would choose to submit to Longao. Neither side wanted to lose this battle. They couldn't lose. They couldn't afford to lose. Master, we'll help you. Longao waved his hand and said confidently, the 3 of you can just watch the battle. I want them to lose wholeheartedly. Lose wholeheartedly? The 5 of them snorted coldly and didn't say anything. However, the expression on their faces had already determined their attitude. Not to mention 1 against 5. Even if it was a one-on-one situation, Longao couldn't possibly be a match for the 5 of them. It was simply a joke. Longao, cut the crap. Let's begin. Nodding, Longao's body suddenly erupted with a terrifying fighting spirit that swept across the world. Lu Li and the other 2 looked at each other. They had no choice but to withdraw from the battlefield and stand aside to watch the battle. However, the 3 of them had already thought it through. If the master's life was in danger, the 3 of them would never just stand by and watch. What a powerful fighting spirit. Feeling the terrifying battle intent that suddenly erupted from Longao's body, the 5 of them were a little surprised. But very quickly, the 5 of them calmed down. No matter how terrifying the battle intent that erupted from Longao was, so what? In the end, Longao was only at the union of man and nature. His strength couldn't compare to any of the 5 of them. This was the confidence that came with strength. A cultivator at the union of man and nature wasn't even worth a fart in their eyes. Longao knew very well that if he used the strength of Long Chong, Long Ming, and the reincarnation avatar, it wasn't impossible to kill Zhou Tianxian. After all, the reincarnation avatar alone was enough to contend with Zhou Tianxian. This didn't mean that the reincarnation avatar's cultivation had broken through Zhou Tianxian's cultivation. It was because the reincarnation avatar's defensive power was too terrifying. It was fine to hit it 100 times, but if the reincarnation avatar hit you once, you wouldn't be able to withstand it. The reincarnation avatar's strength couldn't be estimated by ordinary people. However, Hong Lingtong was a genuine Nirvana realm cultivator. Even the reincarnation avatar couldn't defeat Hong Lingtong. The biggest reason why Longao accepted the challenge was that he wanted to completely subdue the 5 of them. Under such circumstances, the 5 of them were too important to the sect. Longao's biggest reliance wasn't the reincarnation avatar, but Long Fu. Strictly speaking, it should be the dragon seal. According to Long Fu, as the dragon seal continued to recover, it could now lend a small amount of power to the 4 of them. Moreover, it was a very terrifying power. This power had previously sealed the blood pool. One could imagine how terrifying this power was. It was precisely because of this that Longao dared to accept the challenge. Otherwise, he definitely wouldn't have casually accepted the challenge. If he lost, he wouldn't be able to step into the massacre abyss from now on. Then, subduing the 5 of them would simply be a pipe dream.
Fight.
Taking the initiative to attack, Longao took a big stride forward. Halfway through, Long Chong, Long Ming, and the reincarnation avatar all appeared. This time, they wanted to obtain a complete victory. Therefore, Long Chong and Long Ming directly revealed their true forms because the strength of a divine beast's true form was stronger. Long Ao and the reincarnation avatar fought Hong Lingtong 2 against 1. As for Long Chong and Long Ming, they only had one task, and that was to entangle the 4 of them. Even if Long Chong and Long Ming couldn't defeat the 4 of them, it was more than enough for them to entangle the 4 of them. Long Ao's intention was very simple. First, they had to deal with Hong Lingtong as fast as possible. The remaining 4 of them would be easy to deal with. Long Ao obtained the power of the Dragon Seal and attacked continuously, not giving Hong Lingtong any chance to react. In the end, Hong Lingtong was too careless. If he went all out from the beginning, even if Long Ao used the power of the Dragon Seal, it wouldn't be easy to defeat him. As for who would win and who would lose, it was still unknown. However, humans were like this. When they saw someone who was weaker than them, it was natural for them to be careless, especially when there was a gap of 2 levels between them. In Hong Lingtong's opinion, even he could easily deal with Long Ao. This thought directly reversed the situation of the battle. Long Ao and the reincarnation avatar teamed up. The reincarnation avatar didn't seem to be afraid of death. He directly ignored the attacks of the reincarnation avatar. In this way, Hong Lingtong was forced to retreat step by step. The opportunity had come. The reincarnation heavenly eye opened. The reincarnation heavenly eye on Long Ao's forehead directly opened. A terrifying power came out and directly shrouded Hong Lingtong. It was as if he had fallen into a quagmire. Only at this moment did Hong Lingtong truly react. Although Long Ao's realm wasn't as good as his true strength was very terrifying. It was unbelievable that he could even suppress him. The Nirvana Fate Tribulation was always the Nirvana Fate Tribulation. The power of the Yuan spirit would naturally come out. If a cultivator was attacked by Long Ao's reincarnation heavenly eye, they would most likely die. However, Hong Lingtong managed to withstand it. One had to admit that Hong Lingtong's strength was really powerful. Yuan spirit attack. Reincarnation heavenly eye attack. The 2 forces collided with each other. Long Ao's body directly flew out backward. Although Hong Lingtong barely managed to knock down Long Ao, the Samsara heavenly eye was seriously too powerful. Even if it was him, he also similarly forcefully took 3 steps back. Spatial teleportation. Ever since he cultivated the 9 Revolutions reincarnation technique, the reincarnation avatar also had the ability to teleport. It directly appeared behind Hong Lingtong and punched his back. If it wasn't for Hong Lingtong's quick reaction, he believed that he would have died at this moment. Hong Lingtong couldn't believe that he had been forced to such a point. His eyes gradually turned cold because he had already decided to kill Long Ao. Even if there was a mysterious expert behind Long Ao, he didn't care anymore. He would kill Long Ao first. If he didn't remove the roots when cutting the grass, it would grow again when the spring breeze blew. Just as Long Ao had just stood up, his body was on the verge of collapsing. Just as Hong Lingtong was about to make a move to kill him, a whirlwind came. In the blink of an eye, it had already arrived in front of Hong Lingtong. Before Hong Lingtong could react, a blood-curdling scream rang out. Hong Lingtong's body had already fallen to the ground. As for his primordial spirit, it had already been devoured by someone. Chapter 1692. A blood-curdling scream rang out. Everyone was dumbfounded. What was going on? Long Ao's face was gloomy to the extreme when he saw the black-clothed man suddenly appear in front of him. He never imagined that the blood fiend would suddenly appear here. He had successfully injured Hong Lingtong. As long as he worked hard, he could defeat Hong Lingtong. A Nirvana realm cultivator was killed just like that, and even his soul was devoured. It would be unrealistic to say that he wasn't angry. Longao, long time no see. How have you been? The Blood Fiend didn't leave when he couldn't enter the Dragon Valley. In the end, he was still very afraid of the Dragon Seal. Otherwise, he wouldn't have kept chasing after Longao.
Who are you?
You killed Hong Lingtong. Looking at Hong Lingtong's corpse on the ground, the four Abyss Lords were terrified. Hong Lingtong's strength was obvious. Was he also a Nirvana realm cultivator? They retreated again and again. No matter what, they had to leave first. You want to leave? How dare you? Longao was shocked when he saw the Blood Fiend dashing towards the four Abyss Lords. Although the Blood Fiend's true body was powerful, he had been sealed by the Dragon Seal for so many years. It wouldn't be easy for him to recover to his peak strength. Previously, the Blood Fiend was just a heavenly cycle multiplication. How could he be so bold as to attack the five Abyss Lords? Nirvana Realm. Longao sensed that the Blood Fiend's strength had recovered from the heavenly cycle multiplication to the Nirvana Realm. Even he didn't expect such a fast recovery. Longao directly used spatial teleportation because he found that the Blood Fiend's strength had not only recovered to the Nirvana Realm, but his speed had also reached a terrifying state. After a few teleportations, Longao's speed finally surpassed the Blood Fiend's. But what was the result? It turned out that the Blood Devil had come to create a diversion. The real target was Long Chong and Long Ming. Longao was shocked. Although the two little fellows were strong, the gap between them and the Blood Fiend was still huge. No matter what, nothing must happen to the two little fellows. Longao and the two little fellows were telepathically connected. With a stride, he appeared in front of the two little fellows. This is bad. Luring the tiger away from the mountain. The Blood Fiend had used a diversion before, and now he was luring the tiger away from the mountain. When Longao arrived in front of the two little fellows, Blood Demon's figure had already arrived in front of the four of them. He had a sneer on his face and a gloomy expression. A terrifying blood mist erupted from his body.
Blood.
One had to admit that the power of the blood mist was too terrifying. It directly covered the four of them. Was terrified, fear, worry, and even despair. The four of them could clearly sense how powerful the blood mist that enveloped them was. Not only were their bodies, and their souls. Right now, the four of them were completely meat on the display board, waiting to be slaughtered. Hearing those words, the four of them were very regretful. If they had known earlier, they would have chosen to submit to Longao. They wouldn't have ended up like this. Ha ha ha, let them go. The Blood Devil didn't care at all. He sneered and said, "The divine souls of these five people are very suitable for me. If I can devour their divine souls, my strength can quickly recover to Nirvana rebirth. Tell me, will I let the four of them go?"
I see.
Longao already knew that even if he didn't come this time, the Blood Fiend would come. With the Blood Fiend's current strength and the blood pool in his body, it would be a piece of cake for him to destroy the five Abyss Lords. Miscalculation. It was not a miscalculation. Because from the beginning to the end, Longao never thought that the Blood Fiend would choose the five Abyss Lords. "Master, please save us." The four Abyss Lords were terrified to the extreme, but Longao didn't say anything. Lu Li and the other two came to Longao's side. They didn't ask much, because they already knew from the conversation that the black-clothed expert who suddenly appeared was the master's enemy. As long as it was an enemy, it was useless to say anything. "Longao, your speed of growth really surprises me, but your starting point is too low. Even if you're a cultivation genius, you can't be faster than my recovery speed. If my cultivation reaches the Starry Sky realm, do you think the Dragon Valley seal can stop me?" Gloomy and ugly. The Dragon Valley was Longao's bottom line. No one could touch it, not even the Blood Fiend. Long Fu had already said that the seal air shield set up by the Dragon Seal could barely stop the Blood Fiend. Once the Blood Fiend reached the Starry Sky realm, the seal air shield would lose its effect. By then, the Blood Fiend could easily enter the Dragon Valley. It was hard to imagine what it would be like to enter the Dragon Valley after the Blood Fiend's strength recovered to the Starry Sky realm. Who could defeat a Starry Sky expert? He didn't say anything, but the terrifying killing intent bursting out of Longao's body was enough to indicate his current mood.
Kill.
Only by killing the Blood Fiend could his family be rid of all future troubles. Thinking of this, Longao's eyes gradually turned cold. You want to kill me? That's right. Ha ha. With just you. Mockery and disdain were written all over his face because the Blood Fiend didn't take Longao seriously at all. If it weren't for the dragon seal in Longao's hand, the Blood Fiend believed that even if Longao was talented, the Blood Fiend wouldn't even look at him. Longao, I can tell you clearly that in this small plane, maybe your talent is not bad, and you can even be ranked first, but if you are placed in the entire vast starry sky, you are not even a fart. There were countless monsters in the vast starry sky. Longao, however, didn't seem to care. He smiled and said, Blood Fiend, do you think you can return to the vast starry sky? What do you mean? As if guessing something, the Blood Fiend's eyes suddenly emitted 2 rays of golden light. He said coldly, You already know? Impossible, that's impossible. Even Long Fu doesn't know about this, unless the dragon seal body shows up.
He's already fallen.
That's impossible. The Blood Fiend seemed to be a little crazy because he knew very well how serious it would be for Longao if he knew about this. Do you think that no one else in the world knows about this secret except for the dragon seal body? The Blood Fiend didn't say anything, but his face became more and more gloomy and unsightly. He had never expected that Longao would know about this. Blood Demon, although you've broken the seal and left, that item of yours is still in the dragon seal space. Although I'm unable to destroy it with my current strength, once my cultivation reaches a certain level, you can imagine that when I destroy that item, it will also be the time of your death. Chapter 1693. I can let the 4 of them go, as long as you hand over that thing. The Blood Demon finally chose to compromise. Hearing this, the 4 Lords of the Abyss and Lu Li's trio all heaved a long sigh of relief. They had seen the Blood Demon's strength with their own eyes. With such terrifying strength, everyone here might not be a match for the Blood Demon even if they joined forces. The Master hurriedly agreed. And the result? Blood Demon, let me give you a piece of advice. You'd better give up. No matter what happens, I will not give that item to you. Longao had already thought about it. This thing was too important to the Blood Demon. Similarly, this thing was also very important to him. Hong Lingtong had already died, and the remaining 4 could not be handed over even if they had to sacrifice themselves. Longao's decision was very clear. The faces of the 4 were full of anger, but more of it was killing intent. Longao, you are too cruel. As long as you are willing to save us, we will choose to submit to you without any complaints. Why do you have to be so decisive? No words. If it was something else, Longao might consider it, but only that thing. Longao, I'll be the last. Without giving the Blood Demon a chance to speak, Longao continued, I will not hand that thing over. As soon as his voice fell, 4 screams rang out one after another, echoing throughout the massacre abyss. It had to be said that the Blood Demon was a decisive and ruthless person. If it were an ordinary person, they would definitely not kill before getting something. The 4 Lords of the Abyss were killed, and the Blood Demon directly devoured their souls. At this point, the 5 Lords of the Abyss were all dead. He believed that neither Longao nor the 5 Lords of the Abyss had expected this result. Longao, since you already know, I believe you also know that you can't destroy that thing with your strength, unless your cultivation can break through to the Starry Sky Domain Emperor. Do you think you can do that? Starry Sky Domain Emperor. His heart sank because Longao did not know about this. However, he did not have the slightest doubt because the Blood Demon would not lie at this time. Even if he was talented, it was still unknown whether he could reach the Starry Sky Domain Emperor realm.
Depressed.
He was depressed to the extreme. Seeing that Longao was silent, the blood demon said with a smile. If I kill you, you may not even be able to see the sun tomorrow, let alone destroy that thing. A threat. A blatant threat. The blood demon had such strength because the blood demon had an obvious advantage over Longao. Once he recovered to the starry sky realm, he could have killed Longao even then. Blood demon, do you think you have that ability? He didn't care. If it was someone else, Longao might be intimidated. Only blood demon. The blood demon had been sealed by the dragon seal for nearly 10,000 years. It could be said that the dragon seal was the blood demon's nemesis. If it wasn't for the fall of the dragon seal, the blood demon would have disappeared a long time ago. What Longao knew, the blood demon also knew. Longao, you win. But remember, I want you to be vigilant at all times. If I hit you with one blow, you won't have the slightest chance. Just as the blood demon was about to leave, he seemed to have thought of something. He turned around and continued, when my cultivation recovers to the peak, it will be useless even if you break through to the starry sky domain emperor realm. Try harder, don't let me down. Ha 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 ha, ha ha ha. With a burst of crazy laughter, the blood demon left. Looking at the 5 corpses on the ground, Longao's face was very ugly. Luli and the other 2 did not dare to say anything. He could have subdued the 5 people this time, and the dragon sex strength would be raised to a new level. Longao never thought that the blood demon would appear out of nowhere. Master, what should we do now? Although the 5 abyss masters have already died, we can't waste the slaughter abyss. Seeming to understand Longao's meaning, Yin Luoshan said, Master, rather than taking the people here away, why don't we use this place as our base? That way, we'll have a countermeasure. Perhaps it was because of the blood demon's appearance that Longao hadn't thought about this. But now that he thought about it, it was a good idea. The slaughter abyss only had one exit. As long as he set up a formation, it would be difficult for people outside to enter. They could attack or retreat. For the dragon sect, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The slaughter abyss's power was obvious. I'll leave this matter to the 3 of you. Within 3 days, deal with the slaughter abyss. From now on, the Martial Heaven continent will no longer have the slaughter abyss. The slaughter abyss, Dragon City. Yun Luoshan and the other 2 didn't dare to hesitate. They immediately got up and rushed to the so-called Dragon City. They were going to deal with the massacre abyss first. As for the matter of the formation, it was the sect master's problem. The 3 of them were powerless. Seeing the 3 of them leave, Longao wasn't too worried. The 3 of them were Nirvana realm experts. Dealing with the slaughter abyss was something they could do in a matter of minutes. As for the blood demon, Longao had used his spiritual sense to warn him that as long as the blood demon dared to touch the 3 of them or Dragon Valley, he would fight to the death even if he had to self-detonate. Both sides would suffer. The blood demon would be lying if he said he wasn't afraid. No one knew whether Longao's words were true or false. If Longao really did self-detonate, the blood demon would be in big trouble. The blood demon didn't dare to take that risk. He had already decided to deal with the 3 of them first. Once his cultivation base recovered to the starry sky realm, he would immediately head to Dragon Valley. As long as he could control Dragon Valley, he was confident that Longao would obediently submit. The matter with the blood demon had come to an end for now. However, Longao was still worried. Continuing like this wasn't a solution. Who knew if the blood demon would suddenly kill the 3 of them or attack Dragon Valley? At that time, he wouldn't even have a chance to regret it. He was too passive. Longao didn't want to be passive. He had to change from passive to active as soon as possible. After entering the dragon seal space, Longao found Long Fu and said, Long Fu, tell me honestly, has the dragon seal true body fallen? Although the dragon seal's master had changed countless times, Longao knew very well that there was only one true master of the dragon seal, and that was the dragon seal true body. Just now, a mysterious voice had told him about that thing. Master. Longao, since you've already guessed it, why ask Long Fu? Just as Long Fu was about to say something, The air around them fluctuated and formed a small space inside the dragon seal space, enveloping Longao and Longfu. Chapter 1694. Xiling and Bai Ling were isolated. Could it be the dragon seal body? Although Longao had guessed it, looking at the middle-aged man slowly forming in front of him, Longao couldn't help but be surprised. As expected, the dragon seal body really didn't fall. If so, why didn't the dragon seal body destroy the blood demon? The birth of the blood demon was always an anomaly.
Doubt.
He couldn't figure it out. The middle-aged man had a cold and resolute face. His burly body was as strong as a bear. Standing there, the middle-aged man gave off an invincible feeling. "Senior, are you the dragon seal body?" "Yes, you can call me Long Mia." The real owner of the dragon seal body, Long Mia. Not to mention Long Mia's strength, just his name was already very domineering. "Destroy everything, Long Mia." Senior Long Mia. Junior is Longao.
Nodding.
Smiling, Long Mia said with admiration, "You're not bad. In just a few years, you've grown to this level. I'm very satisfied, very satisfied." Longao didn't say anything because he didn't know what Long Mia meant. "Longao, you don't have to be surprised because I've already fallen. What you see now is just a trace of my consciousness left behind. It won't last long."
I see.
Longao was very conflicted. On one hand, he hoped that the dragon seal body could be reborn. Only then could he suppress the blood pool, which was the blood demon. On the other hand, he didn't want the dragon seal body to be reborn because there was only one real owner of the dragon seal, Long Mia. Long Fu could give up on Long Tian, but he couldn't give up on Long Mia. As if he could see Long Ao's thoughts, Long Mia smiled and said, "Long Ao, from the day you obtained the dragon seal is yours. From now on, you're the only owner of the dragon seal. Long Fu will only listen to you." He heaved a sigh of relief. "Senior Long Mia, you can't destroy the blood demon?" "I could in the past, but not now." Without the slightest surprise, Long Ao had already guessed this result. "Don't worry, the blood demon won't do anything to your family. He has already guessed that my primordial spirit hasn't completely disappeared. If he pushes you too hard, you might be able to destroy him. Although you will have to pay a price, it is very likely that you will lose your life." Long Ao had already guessed this. "Long Ao, the current dragon seal is not the true dragon seal."
Huh?
What was the meaning of this? Long Mia's words made Long Ao a little confused. He did not know what he meant. "Senior Long Mia, I don't understand what you mean." Intuition told Long Ao that the dragon seal was not that simple. "I've already sealed the dragon seal back then. Otherwise, how could the blood demon possibly break the seal and leave?" Hearing these words, Long Ao could be considered depressed to the extreme. He really couldn't understand why the dragon seal didn't completely destroy the blood demon and instead let it leave. If it couldn't control the blood demon in the future, the consequences would be unimaginable. "Are you curious why I didn't completely destroy the blood devils?" He nodded. Long Ao said honestly, "Senior Long Mia, I really don't understand. I believe you know the danger of the blood demon. In that case, why didn't you eliminate it completely?" "I can't." "Can't?" What did this mean? Could it be that Long Mia didn't destroy the blood demon because he was worried about the consequences? You will naturally find out in the future, Long Ao. As for the dragon seal, when your cultivation breaks through the starry sky realm and enters the vast starry sky, the seal will slowly open once the dragon seal devours the power of the starry sky. However, if you don't work hard, the seal will not open. Do you understand what I mean? I will open the dragon seal. I like your confidence. If you can open the seal in the future, you'll get everything I left for you. At that time, you will have truly passed my test." Long Ao didn't know how strong Long Mia was. Was Long Mia also a starry sky region emperor? Was he even a peak starry sky domain emperor? However, Long Ao, before you open the dragon seal in the vast starry sky, the dragon seal will become stronger as it devours the power of the starry sky. I don't need to say more about how helpful it will be to you. At this point, Longao roughly understood. Longao, I will now give you the task of destroying the blood demon. Remember, don't act rashly. Wait until you have enough strength. Forget it, it's useless to say more. Your starting point is too low. You will naturally understand when you enter the vast starry sky in the future. Longmye didn't want to say more, and Longao didn't ask, because Longao knew himself well. With his current strength, what could he do even if he knew? Longao, I will now teach you a martial technique. Although this martial technique is a starry sky martial technique, it can be continuously upgraded with your strength. Remember, break through the starry sky realm as soon as possible and enter the vast starry sky. There are many things waiting for you there. It was very confusing. Longao always felt that something was wrong with this matter. As for what was wrong, he could not explain it clearly. Longmye's figure slowly disappeared. As for whether he would continue to exist in the Dragon Seal space or disappear, no one knew, including Longao. At this moment, a mysterious force suddenly poured into Longao's mind. This mysterious force was very strange. It slowly formed a vortex in Longao's mind, spinning rapidly. Longao didn't resist at all, because he knew very well that this mysterious force was the powerful starry sky martial technique that Longmye taught him. Under such circumstances, it was a pleasant surprise to be able to obtain a starry sky martial technique. Ever since the disappearance of the starry sky martialists, the starry sky martial techniques had disappeared as well. Furthermore, Longmye had just said that the martial technique he had imparted to Luo Yunyang could continuously advance along with his own strength. This eliminated the possibility of the martial technique backfiring on him. Longao quietly integrated this force. As long as the integration was complete, he could smoothly obtain this starry sky martial technique.
Who was Longmye?
Longmye was the real master of the Dragon Seal and the most powerful person in the vast starry sky. It was easy to imagine how powerful the martial technique taught by such a super expert would be. Time passed bit by bit. Long Fu didn't disturb him, but just watched quietly. Integration successful. Sensing that the mysterious force in his body had been successfully integrated, Longao's face suddenly lit up. He couldn't wait to sense the starry sky martial technique produced by the mysterious force. Master, what's wrong? Shaking his head, Longao sensed the martial technique that Longmye taught him. He was a little dumbfounded because this martial technique was called Annihilation Palm. Chapter 1695. Annihilation Palm. Longao had already grasped the basics of the Annihilation Palm, which was why he was so shocked. Because Longao could sense that the Annihilation Palm was not only integrated with the Annihilation Seal, but also had the shadow of the 9-cycle reincarnation technique. In other words, unless one first used the 9-cycle reincarnation technique to successfully use the Annihilation Palm, otherwise, it was impossible to use the Annihilation Palm. In other words, those who did not cultivate the 9-cycle reincarnation technique, even if they obtained the Annihilation Palm, it would be useless. The isolation disappeared. Brother Long, did the Dragon Seal reappear just now? Longao did not want to hide anything from Bai Ling nodding. Longao said truthfully, it is indeed the Dragon Seal. Longmye, he taught me the Annihilation Palm. Although they had already guessed it, hearing Longao say it personally, whether it was Xiling or Bai Ling, they were a little surprised. Follow me. Longao was not sure if Longmye still existed, so it was best to leave the Dragon Seal space to talk about some things. Dragon City. In a hidden courtyard, Zhang Xian briefly recounted the events that had transpired. I don't know why, but I keep feeling that Longmye's aura is somewhat familiar, but I can't remember. Not only that, Longmye clearly could have destroyed the blood demon, but he did not do it. This was also what Longao was most depressed about. There was no doubt about Longmye's strength, and from his tone, it was almost a matter of minutes for him to destroy the blood demon. If that was the case, why would Longmye give him something that he could do? Longao, in the vast starry sky, there are countless divine weapons, and there is no lack of powerful super divine weapons. As for the dragon seal in your hand, we have never heard of it, but I can say that the so-called dragon seal, even in the vast starry sky, is a top existence. Longao did not speak, because he wanted to hear what Xiling wanted to say next. I can even say that the dragon seal is the Longya you just saw. Its strength is not to be underestimated, and it can even look down on the owner of the Chaos Stone Tablet. He was startled. Longao never thought that Xiling would have such a high opinion of dragon killing. He knew very well just how powerful the owners of the Chaos Tablets were. Dragon Slayer could actually look down on these powerhouses. If Xiling hadn't said it himself, he wouldn't have thought of it. As for Bloodseeker, sister, there's something fishy about this. I don't want Brother Long to take the risk. Bai Ling was extremely worried about Longao. She didn't want her big brother Long to be in any danger. Xiling smiled helplessly. You don't have to worry. In my opinion, Longmia might not be trying to harm Longao. Perhaps he has his own difficulties. Otherwise, he wouldn't have left the blood demon alive. I think so too. Longao knew his own limits. Who was Longmia? The owner of the dragon seal was powerful. There was no need for him to set him up. Unless Longmia had nothing better to do. Let's not dwell on this matter for now. Longmia has already said that this is a matter for the vast starry sky. I only have one important thing to do now. No matter what Longmia's motive was, he didn't want to dwell on it now. The vast starry sky was a matter for the future. Now that a great enemy was in front of him, the first thing he had to do was to deal with the 10-sided tripod. He had to bring the dragon sect into the 10-sided tripod and break through to the starry sky realm in the shortest time possible. Longao knew very well that if he couldn't break through to the starry sky realm in 3 years, he would be in big trouble. Not to mention the others, it was unknown whether he could pass the marvelous mathematician alone. Seeing that Longao didn't want to dwell on this matter, Xiling didn't continue to dwell on it either. Longao, given Longmia's strength, the annihilation palm that he taught you should be extraordinary. The most amazing thing is that this martial technique can be linked to your strength. In this case, you don't have to worry about the backlash from the starry sky martial technique. He nodded with a smile. Whether it was him, Bai Ling, or Long Fu, they definitely didn't lack starry sky martial techniques. However, the 3 of them didn't teach Longao any starry sky martial techniques. The biggest reason was that starry sky martial techniques were too overbearing. Before Longao broke through to the starry sky realm, there was only one result if he forced himself to practice starry sky martial techniques, the backlash from the starry sky martial techniques. I want to give it a try. He couldn't wait. Longao went to Yun Luoshan and said straightforwardly, Elder Yun, I just got a martial technique and would like to exchange pointers with you. Yun Luoshan, Yun Feng, and Lu Li were all Nirvana realm martial artists, but Yun Luoshan's strength was superior to theirs. He had just reached the oneness of heaven and man realm. That was why Longao came to Yun Luoshan. I couldn't ask for more. Yun Luoshan certainly didn't want to miss the opportunity to exchange pointers. They agreed to fight. Longao didn't plan to use any killing moves, including spatial teleportation. Otherwise, Yun Luoshan wouldn't be able to withstand those powerful martial techniques. Longao was invincible among those in the same realm. Even if it was Zhou Tianxian, Longao still had the confidence to fight. One could imagine how powerful Longao's strength was. This time, he wanted to exchange pointers with Yun Luoshan to try out the annihilation killing palm that he had just cultivated. No one knew about this battle. After Longao handed the matter of the Massacre Abyss to the 3 of them, he immediately left the Massacre Abyss and returned to the Tianwu continent. Currently, the flames of war were still raging in the Tianwu continent. Other than the Heavenly Profound sect that was destroyed, the other 9 superpowers were still intact. As for the Azura Palace, they had replaced the Heavenly Profound sect and became one of the new superpowers. As for the second-rate, third-rate, and fourth-rate powers, they changed too quickly. Some sects rose one day and were destroyed the next. It wasn't easy to get a share of the spoils during this period of turmoil. The Dragon sect was already the hegemon of the second-rate powers. However, it wasn't enough for them to join the 10 great factions, especially after the death of the 5 Abyss Masters. Longao didn't choose to give up. If he couldn't deal with the 10 great factions, it wouldn't be a bad idea to deal with the second-rate powers first. Because the top 5 sects of the second-rate powers all had Nirvana realm experts. If he could subdue these experts, it would be of great help to the Dragon Sect. Longao was about to make a move when he helplessly found that the top 5 sects of the second-rate powers seemed to be fighting for themselves on the surface, but they had secretly joined the 10 great factions. In that case, it was impossible to deal with these second-rate powers. The situation was very dangerous. He had to think of a countermeasure. Otherwise, if he took a wrong step, it would be a mistake in the future. Chapter 1696. Jiuzhou Continent. Inside the Dragon Valley. Lu Ying followed Aoshua back to the Dragon Valley. Ao Tian and Lu Ying had not seen each other for 20 years. They were stunned for a few hours before they finally reacted. Seeing her parents reunited, Aoshua was a little choked up. She was very grateful to Longao. Aoshua and Yu Yin were now as close as sisters. They were only doing this for one person, Longao. The Dragon Valley was now like an iron bucket. Long Haosher and Longing were still in seclusion. They were trying to refine and integrate the Starry Sky inheritance in the shortest time possible.
Boom.
A deafening explosion echoed throughout the area. Azura Peak, Back Mountain. Chief-elect was pleasantly surprised. He said eagerly, "Brother, after 10,000 years of preparation, I finally succeeded." Xing Kuan was also pleasantly surprised to hear this. 10,000 years of preparation had finally succeeded. Yi Wutian and Yi Wudi were very curious. They did not know what kind of formation Xing Kuan and Chief-elect had set up that required 10,000 years of preparation. As for Zichuan and Zilin, they were even more clueless about what had happened. Space Death Formation. Anyone who enters without reaching the Starry Sky realm will die, without a doubt. Space Death Formation? Aside from Xing Kuan, the other 5 were all shocked when they heard the super formation from the Chief-elect's mouth, including Xing Kuan. The 5 of them were no strangers to the Space Death Formation. The reason was simple. Yi Wutian and Yi Wudi looked at each other. They could see the deep shock in each other's eyes. Space Death Formation. I didn't expect the Azura Palace to have set up a Space Death Formation. Yi Wudi was still in a daze. Yi Wutian nodded. It was a little unbelievable. The 2 of them knew very well that with the Space Death Formation, the Azura Palace could become the leader of the 10-direction tripod in a matter of minutes. Who would dare to go against the Azura Palace? 10,000 years ago, the Space Death Formation was known as the strongest formation under the Starry Sky Formation. Although the Space Death Formation was very powerful, it was very difficult to set it up. Even as a Divine Array Master, Chief Ba had taken 10,000 years to set it up. One could only imagine how difficult it was to set up a spatial killing array. If it were a Starry Sky Array Formation Master arranging a Space Absolute Kill Array, not to mention 10,000 years, it would only take a few days. Xing Kuan had always been brooding over the fact that he had been killed by 10 people in the past. If Xing Kuan wasn't afraid of the 10 of them, he wouldn't have reincarnated so late. With the Absolute Death Spatial Formation, even if the Myriad Beast's ancestor and his 10 companions come, I won't have to fear them. With the Spatial Absolute Death Array in hand, the world was mine. Unless a Starry Sky Master came, the Space Absolute Kill Formation could kill anyone, including a Nirvana reborn martial artist like Wanshou ancestor. Yi Wutian. What are your orders, Master? They didn't know why, but they always felt that they were very afraid of Xing Kuan. This fear came from the bottom of their hearts. They didn't even have this feeling when facing Purple Thunder ancestor. In the end, the 2 of them were still afraid that Xing Kuan would suddenly kill them. After all, Xing Kuan's terrifying strength was obvious. The Spatial Absolute Death Array has just been set up. Why don't the 2 of you go in and test its power? Huff. Hearing Xing Kuan's words, both Yi Wutian and Yi Wutian were really shocked. How could they not know about the Spatial Absolute Death Array? If the two of them dared to enter the spatial absolute death array, they wouldn't be just the two of them. Master, you must be joking. We can imagine the power of the spatial absolute death array. We don't have to try at all. Xing Kun smiled. He never thought of letting the two of them enter the spatial absolute death array. After all, with the power of the spatial absolute death array, the two of them would undoubtedly die as soon as they stepped in. Although Xing Kun despised the two of them and wanted to kill them, they were still Nirvana realm martial artists and were still very useful to the sect. I was just saying, don't take it seriously. The two of them were a little dumbfounded. The two of them were very clear that they were not fools. Of course, they knew that Xing Kun was doing this to intimidate them. It would be unrealistic to say that they weren't angry, but what could they do even if they were angry? Big brother, the spatial absolute death array has been set up successfully. Why don't we find someone to try it first? Xing Kun nodded. He had the same idea. After thinking about it, Xing Kun decided to deal with Longao. First, he had to eliminate the source of trouble. After all, Longao was too unpredictable. Even he couldn't guarantee how far Longao would grow in the future. Second, he had to obtain Jianling's Yuan spirit no matter what. If he could devour Jianling's Yuan spirit, then his cultivation base would smoothly break through to the Starry Sky realm. Xing Kun was looking forward to it. If he could reach the Starry Sky realm, then no one in the world would be his match. Xing Kun's ambition was great. He wanted to defeat the divine mathematician and the heavenly Daos and become the true #1 expert of the martial heaven continent. Longao. Hearing that the first person Xing Kun wanted to test was Longao, Yi Wutian and Yi Wutian were delighted. However, they didn't dare to say anything. Xing Kun's intimidation just now had frightened them. If Xing Kun really went crazy and threw them into the spatial absolute death array, then they would definitely die. How sullen. The two of them were filled with regret. Back in the Violet Thunder sect, they were high and mighty, and the old ancestor had treated them well. Now that they had come to the Azura Palace, they thought they would still have the same status. Who would have thought that Xing Kun didn't even put them in his eyes? A tiger would be bullied by a dog. Since things had already reached this point, the two of them could only endure it. In this world, only the Azura Palace could protect them. As for the other superpowers, they definitely wouldn't accept two traitors. If they could betray the Violet Thunder sect, then they would definitely betray the other superpowers. This was something that all the other superpowers had thought of. Right now, the two of them could be said to be extremely depressed. Their cultivation bases had already reached the heavenly cycle multiplying realm, and their strength was above the punishment realm. Yet they couldn't get the important task. It was obvious how depressed they were. They couldn't leave, and if they stayed, they would have to suffer the supercilious looks of others. Yi Wutian, I'll leave this task to the two of you. Remember, no matter what happens, you must bring Longao here. Otherwise, Xing Kun didn't continue, but the meaning in his words was very clear. Yes, master. The two of them were in a difficult situation now. After all, this was Azura Peak, the headquarters of the Azura Palace. Unless Longao's brain was damaged, how could he come here for no reason? What should they do to successfully lure Longao here? Of course, the two of them didn't dare to go against Xing Kun's will. Chapter 1697. The task was arduous. Yi Wutian and Yi Wudi were extremely depressed. How could they lure Longao here without letting Longao notice the slightest flaw? In short, it was difficult. Yi Wutian and Yi Wudi racked their brains, but still could not come up with a good idea. Apart from a few people, no one knew that the chief-elect had set up the space-killing formation in front of Luli Peak. Looking at the sudden appearance of the two people, Longao, who had already returned to the sect, was very curious. He did not know why the two of them had come at this time. After all, the grudges between him and the two of them had already reached the point where they would not rest until one of them was dead. Could it be that the two of them were really not afraid of him? Whether it was Yi Wutian or Yi Wudi, they were both genuine universal cycle reproduction martial artists. Under normal circumstances, how could a martial artist who had achieved oneness of heaven and man be a match for a universal cycle reproduction martial artist, let alone one against two? However, Longao's situation was very different. In the past, Longao had successfully killed a nirvana martial artist in the supreme divine way realm. Moreover, he was able to fight in the sword sect and escape unscathed from the Battle of Phoenix Peak. This in itself was enough to explain everything. Longao, it seems that the enmity between us has to be resolved once and for all. Do you think you can win? Being questioned by a martial artist who had achieved oneness of heaven and man made the two of them feel ashamed. There were 5 realms of nirvana, and each realm had a huge gap. The two of them more or less did not take Longao seriously. Oneness of heaven and man was always oneness of heaven and man. If the other party could defeat the two of them by himself, the two of them might as well kill themselves. The two of them were not afraid of Longao. What they were really afraid of was Jianling's primordial spirit in Longao's body. The two of them knew very well that even if Jianling's primordial spirit had lost its original body, a Starry Sky martial artist was still a Starry Sky martial artist. Even if the Starry Sky primordial spirit still existed, it would only take a few minutes to kill the two of them. It was better to be safe than sorry. There was only one way to ensure that nothing would happen, and that was to lure Longao to Azura Foam. The moment Longao entered the space absolute death array, he would definitely die. Even if he couldn't obtain Jianling's primordial spirit, he could at least avenge his third brother. Longao, cut the crap. Do you dare to fight the two of us? Why wouldn't I dare? Of course, Longao was not afraid of the two of them. This battle was unavoidable anyway, so it was better to fight early than late. Both of you can come at me together. The two of them were furious. They originally wanted to lure Longao to Azura Peak, but they were infuriated by Longao's arrogance. They seemed to have forgotten their original intention. The two of them wanted to try and see how strong Longao was. Could it be that they really couldn't defeat a warrior who is one with the world even with 2 against 1? Longao, the two of us would like to see how you can defeat us today. As soon as they finished speaking, the two of them rushed out and attacked Longao from the left and right. The heaven and earth domain in their bodies formed an endless cycle. The power of the two of them working together was imaginable. Longao was no match for the two of them in terms of realm. However, Longao's situation was completely different. He had all kinds of killer moves. Longao's body was constantly changing. His speed was so fast that even the two of them couldn't lock onto his position. Longao, if you are still a man, stop and fight with us. The two of them were very depressed. They were not afraid of fighting force with force. They were only afraid that Longao would use a space artifact. At this speed, the two of them had no chance of winning. Longao stopped his teleportation and looked coldly at the two of them. He sneered, 2 against 1. Are you guys not men? Or am I not a man? Disdain was written all over Longao's face. He had seen shameless people before, but he had never seen such shameless people. The shamelessness of these two people could be considered to be at the peak of perfection. It was obvious that he was the one who was shameless in the first place, but the villain still complained first. The two of them ignored him. Anyway, as long as they could provoke Longao into not using his space artifact, what did it matter if they were shameless? Longao, cut the crap. If you have the ability, don't use your space artifact. The two of them had always thought that Longao's speed was so fast because of his space artifact. Okay, no problem. Longao agreed, without hesitation.
Huh.
Seeing Longao agree without even thinking, Yi Wutian and Yi Wutian were a little surprised. The two of them had never thought that Longao would really agree not to use his space artifact. In that case, what else could Longao rely on? After all, Longao's strength was there. If they fought force with force, Longao would definitely not be able to beat them. As if thinking of something, Yi Wutian said coldly, Longao, not only can you not use your space artifact, but you also can't use the power of Jianling's primordial spirit. Otherwise, even if you beat us, you still won't win with your strength." How could Longao not know what the two of them were thinking? After thinking about it, he understood. After all, Xiling was a starry sky cultivator and a starry sky region emperor. Under normal circumstances, even if Xiling's original body died, his primordial spirit would be enough to wipe out two small heavenly cycle cultivators. As you wish. Seeing that Longao didn't even think about it, the two of them were a little surprised. They didn't know what Longao was up to. The more Longao acted like this, the more uncertain the two of them were. However, things had already turned out this way. Could they still retreat? Longao had agreed to the two conditions proposed by the two of them without even thinking about it. If they left at this time, wouldn't they be telling everyone that they were afraid of Longao? If this matter spread out, they would be completely disgraced.
Kill.
There was no way to avoid it. The two of them each took a big step forward and rushed forward. This time Longao didn't retreat. He didn't use spatial teleportation. Instead, he chose to fight force with force. With the defensive power of his physical body, Longao was full of confidence. Even if he took a few palm strikes from the two of them, it would be more than enough to spare. Annihilation Palm. Longao wanted to test the power of the Annihilation Palm that he had just cultivated against the two heavenly cycle cultivators. It was precisely because of this that Longao promised the two of them not to use spatial teleportation. Longao's palms constantly changed. Countless palm shadows appeared. The Annihilation Palm overlapped one another. In an instant, countless palm shadows appeared. Not only that, but a huge black vortex appeared around Longao. The vortex of palm shadows instantly enveloped the two of them. Longao, the two of them had never thought that Longao would promise the two of them that he would not use his spatial divine tool. It turned out that he had something to rely on. The martial skill that he had used earlier was very powerful. Even if it was the two of them, if they did not react in time, they would have already been killed. What a terrifying martial skill. The two of them were very puzzled. Was there such a terrifying martial skill in the Tianwu continent? Even the myriad beast's ancestor and Xing Kuan didn't have such a powerful martial skill. It was hard to imagine that Longao could use this martial skill to fight against the two of them, even though he was only in the union of heaven and man. Once Longao's cultivation broke through to heavenly cycle reproduction, wouldn't it be a matter of minutes for him to kill the two of them? Thinking of this, the two of them were extremely afraid. No matter what happened, they had to deal with Longao. They had to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots to prevent any future troubles. Countless palm shadows revolved around the black vortex. Not only that, Longao suddenly had an idea. When he used the Annihilation Palm, he also used his time-killing technique. The power of the two martial skills combined could be imagined. Retreat. The two of them didn't dare to stay. Otherwise, wouldn't they lose without a doubt? The two of them didn't have the heart to continue fighting. They turned and left. However, would Longao give them the chance to leave? However, the speed of the two was displayed there. Even if it was Longao, it seemed to be a little difficult to keep the two of them. But even so, the two of them were still hit by countless palm shadows. The black vortex rotated, and the palm shadows fiercely hit the two of them. It seemed to be helping the two of them to be faster, but in fact, the two of them were already seriously injured. Now, not to mention Longao, even if a random person appeared, he could easily eliminate the two of them. Longao was very clear that leaving the two of them alive would be a disaster. Only by killing them would he be able to eliminate all future troubles. Longao used spatial teleportation and chased after them as fast as he could. Although Yi Wutian and Yi Wudi were very fast compared with Longao's spatial teleportation, they were still a little slow. Moreover, the two of them were now seriously injured, and their speed was even slower than Longao's. Sooner or later, he would catch up with them. When that time came, the two of them would undoubtedly die. Until now, the two of them were very depressed. They didn't know why Longao was so powerful. There was a huge gap between their realms, but he could reverse the situation with a martial skill. Could it be? Suddenly, the two of them seemed to have thought of something. As they ran, they looked at each other and saw a trace of shock in each other's eyes. The two of them had realized at the same time that the martial skill that Longao had just used was very likely the legendary Starry Sky martial skill. It was a little unbelievable, but the two of them didn't care about anything else. In the current situation, if they were slow, only death would await them. Because of this, the two of them didn't hesitate and directly chose blood escape. Although it would cause them great damage, in their opinion, as long as they could escape this disaster, it wouldn't be difficult for them to make a comeback in the future. Blood escape. Longao didn't expect that the two of them would choose blood escape at this time. There was almost no need to guess that the two of them must have returned to the Azura Palace. Should he choose to give up or continue the chase? If he chased them to the Azura Palace and got trapped by Xingquan, he would be in big trouble. Thinking quickly, Longao was a little embarrassed for a moment. He didn't know whether to give up or continue. After thinking for a while, Longao finally decided to continue the chase. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If he missed it, he would definitely regret it in the future. Thinking of this, Longao continued to use spatial teleportation and quickly moved in the direction of the two of them using blood escape. Chapter 1698. Azura Foam. Xingquan had been waiting since Yi Wutian and Yi Wuti left. To be honest, Xingquan didn't care about Longao's life at all. Xingquan only cared about one thing, the Jianling primordial spirit of the starry sky. As for other treasures and martial techniques, no matter how heaven-defying they were not worth mentioning compared to the primordial spirit of the starry sky. Ancestor, it's been a whole day, and they haven't come back. Will there be an accident this time when we lured Longao here? Xingquan was very worried. After all, Longao wouldn't come unless he was a fool. But what happened? With a flash of blood mist, two figures appeared in front of Xingquan and the others. They were none other than Yi Wutian and Yi Wuti, who had used the blood escape. What happened to you? Xingquan, and the three chief elects could clearly sense that Yi Wutian and Yi Wuti were seriously injured, and their lives were in danger. Is it Longao's? They didn't want to believe it because the gap between Longao's strength and the two was too big. Master? Of course, the two wouldn't hide anything. They would even add fuel to the fire. However, for the sake of their dignity, the two wouldn't tell Xingquan and the others that they were weaker than the other party. Instead, they directly told everyone that they were defeated and even seriously injured because Longao used the Jianling primordial spirit. It was reasonable. Xingquan and the others didn't have the slightest doubt because the gap between Longao and the two was indeed huge. The more so, the more Xingquan looked forward to getting the Jianling primordial spirit. Where is he?
He's already here.
Although he was pleasantly surprised, Xingquan's face was also extremely gloomy. The reason was simple. Longao dared to chase after Yi Wutian and Yi Wutian in broad daylight, which meant that he didn't take him seriously at all. Not to mention the fact that he would lose face if this matter were to spread out. He would not be able to pass the test in his heart alone. Longao must die. Looking at the gloomy ancestor, no one dared to say anything. Yi Wutian and Yi Wutian heaved a long sigh of relief. They immediately sat down on the ground and began to meditate. With Xingquan's help, in a short 2 hours, half of their injuries were healed. Thank you for your help, Master. You're welcome. If it was any other time, would Xingquan be like this? From Xingquan's point of view, since the two of them could betray the Violet Thunder sect, they could also betray him. But under such special circumstances, Xingquan could only endure it. But whether or not he would kill the two of them in the future was still unknown. Where's Longao? Yi Wutian and Yi Wutian looked at each other and saw a trace of curiosity in each other's eyes. Longao had chased them all the way to the Azura Palace, so why hadn't he shown up yet? Could it be that Longao had turned back halfway? If that was the case, Then this time, they had gone for wool and come home shorn. Ancestor, Longao is here. Without waiting for Xing Kuan's surprise, Xing Kuan continued. Longao is standing outside the peak, but he refuses to come in. Hearing this, Xing Kuan could already guess Longao's intention. If it was according to his normal strength, it wouldn't be difficult for him to kill Longao. However, Longao was too unpredictable, especially when he had a spatial divine item. If he wasn't careful, Longao would escape. If that wasn't the case, he wouldn't have sent the two of them to lure Longao here. As long as Longao was willing to enter the space absolute killing array, there was no way he could escape. At that time, not only would Longao die, Xing Kuan would also be able to obtain the Starry Sky Yuan spirit, killing two birds with one stone. Because of this, Longao must enter the space absolute killing array. Let's go. Xing Kuan and the rest immediately rushed out of the peak. Outside the Azura Peak. 2 hours ago, Longao had already arrived outside the Azura Palace. He watched the two of them enter the Azura Peak, but he stopped abruptly and didn't chase after them. Longao wasn't a fool. Of course, he knew that the two of them wouldn't find trouble with him for no reason. If he wasn't mistaken, the two of them must have come to lure him into the Azura Peak. Who knew what kind of trap was waiting for him inside the Azura Peak? If he entered rashly and fell into a trap, the consequences would be unimaginable. Looking at the 7 figures rushing over from the Azura Peak, Longao sneered. He didn't leave because he wanted to see what these 7 people were up to. The 7 of them arrived in the blink of an eye. Longao, since you're here, why don't you come in and have a seat? Xing Kuan's face was indifferent, as if nothing had happened. If someone who didn't know heard this, they would have thought that Longao and Xing Kuan were friends and not mortal enemies. Xing Kuan, you and I are both smart people. There are some things that don't need to be said too clearly. This time, you sent 2 dogs to lure me here. Just tell me what you want. No one was surprised that Longao had already guessed it. If he couldn't guess it, then Longao was too useless. But so what if he guessed it? Xing Kuan glanced at the chief-elect beside him and said indifferently, Longao, if I'm not wrong, you should be an array master. What level are you? Although Xing Kuan and the chief-elect had already guessed that Longao was most likely an array master, they didn't know the level of his array formation. However, neither of them would have guessed that Longao was a god-grade array master. As long as one wasn't a Starry Sky Martialist, it wouldn't be easy for anyone, even a god-grade array master, to break open a space-killing array. Longao didn't say anything because he didn't know what Xing Kuan meant. Xing Kuan glanced at the chief-elect. His meaning was very clear. Taking a step forward, the chief-elect smiled and said, Longao, I am an array master. I heard that you are an array master too, so I would like to meet you.
Just say it.
All right, I like straightforward people. In that case, I won't beat around the bush. I just set up an array yesterday. How about we make a bet? Let's hear it. Longao didn't immediately agree. Who knew what the chief-elect meant? It was better to be safe than sorry. Moreover, he also knew that the chief-elect was a god-grade array master who had made a name for himself 10,000 years ago. A god-grade array set up by the chief-elect was no small matter. It's very simple. You enter the array I set up. As long as you can break out of the seal, you win. On the other hand, if you lose, not only will you have to hand over Jianling's primordial spirit, you will also have to hand over all your treasures and martial skills. How about it? So that's how it is. Longao already knew why Xing Kuan and Yi Wutian had lured him here. It turned out that they wanted to use the array to deal with him. Xing Kuan was really shameless to the extreme. Chapter 1699. No problem. Hearing Longao agree, Xing Kuan and the others were overjoyed. Chief-elect, Xing Kuan, what if you lose? Lose? Would they lose? From the beginning to the end, Xing Kuan and the chief-elect had never thought that they would lose. In any case, the power of the space-killing array was obvious. Longao was at most a king-level array master. Once he entered the space-killing array, he would die without a doubt. There was no chance of him breaking out of the seal. Longao, what do you want? Confidence. Whether it was the chief-elect or Xing Kuan, they were full of confidence. In that case, no matter what conditions Longao offered, the two of them would agree. It was still the same sentence. In their opinion, it was impossible for Longao to win. Longao lowered his head and thought for a while. This time, he had come here to hunt down the two of them. If there was no danger, there would be no reward. Although the chief-elect was a 10,000-year-old god-level array master, as long as he had not broken through to a starry sky array master, he would be able to break out of the seal. Thinking of this, Longao suddenly raised his head and said with a sneer, "If I lose, not only will I have to hand over everything, but I'm afraid I will also have to leave my life here." No one spoke, because everyone knew that Longao was right. Once Longao entered the space-killing array and could not come out, there was no doubt that he would stay in the array forever. At that time, Longao would be meat on the chopping block, waiting to be slaughtered. I only have 3 conditions. Otherwise, this bet is over.
Tell me.
Xing Kuan did not agree immediately. No one knew how strong Longao was. If Longao really broke out of the seal, he would not even have the chance to regret it. After all, one could never be too careful. If Longao really broke out of the seal, he would not even have the chance to regret it. The first condition is that after I break out of the seal and leave the array, you must first hand over Yi Wutian and Yi Wutian. Master. Waving his hand, Xing Kuan agreed without even thinking. He did not care about the lives of Yi Wutian and Yi Wutian at all. The only thing he cared about was the Jianling's primordial spirit in Longao's body. As long as he could devour Jianling's primordial spirit, not to mention 2 people, he would not hesitate to sacrifice anything else. The second condition is that after I break out of the seal and leave the formation, Chief-elect must choose to submit to me. You must not disobey me in this life, and must swear a blood oath. Chief-elect appeared to be very calm. Without waiting for Xing Kuan to speak, he had already nodded and agreed. Longao, no problem. As long as you can break out of the seal, I am willing to follow you in the future. I will also swear a blood oath that I will never go back on my word. The chief-elect had already thought about it. If his space-killing formation could not trap Longao, then it meant that Longao's skill in formations was above his. Since that was the case, there was nothing wrong with him following Longao. Most importantly, from the beginning to the end, the chief-elect was confident in the formation he had set up. He had spent 10,000 years to set up the legendary number 1 formation under the starry sky. If even Longao could not kill it, then he could. Xing Kuan did not say anything. The third condition is very simple. As long as I win, no matter what happens, you and the Azura Palace will not attack my family and the Dragon Valley. How about it? As long as you agree to my 3 conditions, we will begin immediately. The 3 conditions were not a big deal to Xing Kuan. He nodded and agreed, without even thinking. Xing Kuan, Chief-elect, before we enter, I would like to ask, what is this formation? Both sides had sworn a blood oath, so neither side would return. Because of this, the chief-elect thought for a moment and said, "Space-killing formation."
Thank you.
Longao did not continue to dawdle. He followed the chief-elect to the back of the mountain. Without saying a word, he stepped into the space gate and disappeared without a trace. Chief-elect, how confident are you?
100%.
That's enough. Xing Kuan's eyes were so cold that they seemed to come from the depths of hell. In his opinion, since the chief-elect was 100% confident, then even if Longao had 3 heads and 6 arms, he would not be able to leave the space-killing formation alive. Whenever he thought of devouring Jianling's Yuan spirit, Xing Kuan felt a deep sense of excitement. He could not wait to devour Jianling's Yuan spirit right now. Looking at Longao, who had stepped into the space-killing formation, both Yi Wutian and Yi Wudi were overjoyed. In their opinion, Longao would die without a doubt after entering the legendary space-killing formation. Since they were in an invincible position, what was there to worry about? It was a huge space that stretched as far as the eye could see. In the air, there was a mysterious and terrifying energy flowing everywhere. This was the space-killing formation? As a God-class formation master, Longao was not unfamiliar with the space-killing formation at all. Legend had it that the space-killing formation was known as the #1 formation master under the stars. It was extremely powerful. Legend had it that it was extremely difficult to set up a space-killing formation. As long as one was not a starry sky formation master, even a God-class formation master would need at least 10,000 years to set up a space-killing formation. Could it be that the chief-elect had spent 10,000 years to set up the space-killing formation? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Longao knew his own limits. Although he was also a God-grade array master, it wouldn't be easy for him to break the array and leave. This time, he wasn't acting recklessly. He really wanted to see what the space-killing array, which was known as the #1 array formation under the starry sky, was like. Boom, 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 boom. Terrifying sounds spread throughout the space. After 10,000 years, the space-killing formation had been opened up by the chief-elect into an independent space. Within this space, there were space cracks. No matter who it was, they would be killed by the space cracks. Space cracks. Yes, the power of the space-killing formation was known as the nemesis of all martial artists under the stars. No matter who it was, as long as they encountered a space crack, they would die. As long as a martial artist could break through the starry sky realm and obtain the power of the starry sky, they could ignore the space cracks of different planes. They could even enter the space cracks and come and go freely. This was also why there was a saying in the vast starry sky, all under the starry sky were ants. Looking at the countless space cracks in the space, Longao was shocked. He did not dare to touch them. As for Xiling and Bailing, they did not dare to touch the space cracks. The reason was simple. No matter how strong their true bodies were, they were only starry sky primordial spirits. The space cracks could not only kill all martial artists under the starry sky primordial spirits, but also starry sky primordial spirits. This was also the reason why Xiling and Bailing did not dare to leave the sky martial continent for so many years. Within the space-killing formation, Longao did not even dare to use space teleportation. No matter how powerful space teleportation was, it would still change the flow of space around him. Once he was locked on by the space cracks, the consequences would be unimaginable. He would probably be killed by the space cracks and die without a burial place. Longao's body constantly changed. All that could be seen was an afterimage. Even so, the space cracks around him were getting denser and denser. Within the space seemed to be cut into space cracks that seemed to want to devour everything. Rumbling sounds could be heard as one space crack became 2 space cracks, 2 space cracks became 4 space cracks became 8 space cracks became 16 space cracks, and so on. In just a few minutes, countless space cracks had appeared. Anyone who saw this would feel their scalp tingle. Although he was wary of the space-killing formation, Longao had always been confident in his array formation skills. No matter what, the chief-elect was still a divine rank array master. Even if he could arrange a space-killing formation, it was not impossible for him to break it. Hearing about it was one thing, but seeing it with your own eyes was another. Feeling the space cracks becoming denser and denser, Longao's speed increased. However, if this continued, Longao's strength would eventually run out. At that time, there would only be one outcome. He would be killed by the space cracks without the slightest chance of survival. Just when Longao was gradually unable to resist, he suddenly thought of something in his mind. Overjoyed, Longao did not hesitate. A magic sword suddenly appeared in his hand. It was the so-called Samsara sword. The Samsara sword was the most precious treasure of the Samsara clan. Although he could not really use the power of the Samsara sword, since it could break the forbidden power of the Starry Sky Warriors, which was the power of the Starry Sky, Did it mean that the samsara sword could resist the devouring of the space cracks? It was impossible to break the array formation with just the array formation. It was known as the best array formation under the starry sky. Longao already knew that unless his cultivation broke through the starry sky realm or he became a starry sky array master, no one could break such a super array formation. Running the samsara sword skill, streams of samsara sword chi formed a sword chi shield around his body. As Longao guessed, the samsara sword could really resist the devouring of the space cracks. Even so, it's not a solution. How can I break the array formation? Longao's face darkened. He did not dare to stop wielding the samsara sword for a moment. Once he stopped, the samsara sword chi would not be able to form a shield to protect his body. Then, he would be devoured by the space cracks. 36 Reincarnation Styles. Just as Longao kept wielding the samsara sword, a samsara power suddenly appeared in his mind. It instantly occupied his divine soul. Then, a samsara 36 reincarnation styles derived from the samsara sword skill came into Longao's mind. He was overjoyed. Although he had not practiced the samsara 36 reincarnation styles, Longao could clearly feel how terrifying the power of the samsara sword skill he had just obtained was. Without any hesitation, he immediately began to practice the first samsara style, Samsara 9 Kills. Chapter 1700. Reincarnation 36 Forms. The first form, Reincarnation 9 Kills. If it was under normal circumstances, Longao would need at least a few months or even a few years to master Reincarnation 9 Kills. The 36 reincarnation forms were extremely powerful, but it was also incomparably difficult to cultivate. Under such circumstances, although it seemed very dangerous, it was actually a great help to Longao. Longao not only used the reincarnation sword aura to block the surrounding space cracks from devouring, but he also used the space cracks to continuously verify the reincarnation 36 forms that he had just obtained. The reincarnation 36 forms, the first form, Reincarnation 9 Kills. The first form contained 9 changes. The 9 swords combined into one, and the power stacked up. It was terrifying just thinking about it.
Just like that.
Longao continued to practice the first form of reincarnation in the space-killing formation. Time passed in the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, 3 days and 3 nights had passed. Longao didn't notice anything during the 3 days and 3 nights. It was as if a few seconds had passed. Reincarnation 9 Kills. After 3 days and 3 nights of continuous verification, Longao finally mastered the first form. It was impossible to say that he wasn't happy. After the verification, Longao couldn't wait to try the power of the first form, Reincarnation 9 Kills, among the 36 forms. In an ordinary manner, Longao casually stabbed out with his sword. It seemed like a simple stroke, but it contained 9 changes. It was as if 9 swords were thrown out at the same time. 9 swords combined into one. The 9 changes combined into one again, causing the surrounding space cracks to move randomly. What would others think if they saw it? Master, take advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to continuously verify the sword formation with the help of the space-killing formation. Sword formation? In an instant, Longao understood what Long Fu meant. Sword formation wasn't a sword formation that was casually set up. Instead, the formation was integrated into the sword aura. When the sword aura and the formation combined into one, the power wasn't as simple as 1 + 1. Longao didn't hesitate at all. He was also very clear that if he could integrate the sword aura and the formation, he believed that the power would more than double. Just thinking about it made him excited. He had to admit that Longao's actions were indeed crazy. Fusing a formation with sword chi was equivalent to fusing a formation with a martial skill. No one had ever succeeded before. This was unprecedented, and it was likely that no one would be able to do so in the future. Longao was already a god-tier formation master. He had reached a very high level of attainment in the Tao of formations. In the entire Martial Heaven continent, other than a few people, Longao stood at the peak of the Tao of formations. The next step would be to advance to a Starry Sky Array Master. This step was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Without origin force, it was impossible to become a Starry Sky Cultivator or a Starry Sky Array Master. To become a Starry Sky Array Master, the first condition was to break through to the Starry Sky realm. Longao immediately began to verify. In fact, with Longao's skill in array formations and the 36 forms of reincarnation, it wasn't difficult to fuse an array formation into the sword Qi as long as he kept experimenting. However, the troublesome thing was that Longao had to verify thousands of arrays. If it was just a single array, even if he succeeded, it wouldn't be a true fusion of sword Qi and an array. In the following time, Longao began to verify the arrays one by one. Azura Peak, Back Mountain. 10 days had passed, but Longao still hadn't been killed by the spatial tear. This greatly exceeded everyone's expectations. Xing Kuan, the chief-elect, and everyone else, including the punishment master, had ugly expressions. Chief-elect, could it be that Longao can really withstand the spatial crack? If he hadn't discovered that Longao was still alive, he wouldn't have believed that a mere unity of heaven and man cultivator could resist the devouring of a spatial tear. The chief-elect also couldn't figure it out. With Longao's strength, it's impossible for him to resist the spatial tear. Not to mention him, even you, big brother, would definitely die if you stepped into the spatial killing formation. He didn't care at all, because Xing Kuan knew that what the chief-elect said was true. Big brother, the reason why Longao could resist the devouring of the spatial tear, according to my guess, is that Longao borrowed the help of Jianling's primordial spirit. That's right, it must be so. If the two of them knew that Longao could resist the devouring of the spatial tear by himself and not by Jianling's primordial spirit, who knew what they would think? Chief-elect, what should we do now? Big brother, don't worry. Even though Longao has the help of Jianling's primordial spirit, but Jianling's primordial spirit wouldn't dare to resist the spatial tear head-on. Otherwise, Jianling's primordial spirit would definitely be devoured by the spatial tear and die a horrible death. How could Xing Kuan not know about this? As for Longao borrowing the power of Jianling's primordial spirit, I don't believe that Longao can continue to resist. Now that 10 days have passed, I believe that Longao won't be able to resist for another 10 days at most. With the help of the spatial killing formation, it would take another 20 days or so to kill Longao. It was really unbelievable. However, Xing Kuan didn't think much of Longao. After all, Longao could resist the surrounding spatial tear not by his own strength, but by borrowing the power of Jianling's primordial spirit. Inside the spatial killing formation, Longao used the surrounding spatial tear to continuously verify the formation and sword Qi. It took him 3 times to verify the first formation and sword Qi, so he wasn't very familiar with it. However, as more and more formations were verified, Longao's verification speed became faster and faster, and the success rate of the fusion also increased. Longao really couldn't figure it out. Had his formation skills improved again? He couldn't figure it out. However, under such circumstances, Longao didn't want to continue thinking about it. In just one day, the formation and sword Qi had been successfully fused. Since stepping into the spatial killing formation, a total of 12 days had passed in the blink of an eye. Longao used the formation and sword Qi to temporarily prevent the surrounding spatial tear from devouring. However, it couldn't be a long-term solution because the longer it was delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for him. Because of this, he had to think of a solution as soon as possible. Otherwise, if he was accidentally devoured by the surrounding spatial tear, the consequences would be unimaginable. Longao, I have a way to help you break the formation, but it's quite dangerous. Are you willing to give it a try? Of course. At this point, Longao knew very well that if he couldn't break the formation, there would only be one final outcome, which was to be devoured by the spatial tear. Instead of that, it was better to take the risk. If he could break the formation and escape, not only would he be able to save his life, but he would also be able to obtain the 3 conditions that he had mentioned before. Chapter 1701. Xiling. What's the plan? Longao knew very well that Xiling would not be able to help him in person. The space crack was the nemesis of primordial spirits. Longao, my plan is very simple. If you want to break the formation, use your body as a sword and break the surface with a single point. Use your body as a sword and break the surface with a single point? What did that mean? Following that, Violet Spirit quickly explained the key to breaking the formation. As a divine rank array master, Longao understood it immediately. However, he was exceptionally depressed because the method that Xiling had just mentioned was completely a 9 out of 10 chance of death. If he was the slightest bit careless, he would fall into eternal damnation. There was still a chance of survival if he broke the formation by force. If he continued to stay, death would be the only way out. After thinking about it, Longao chose to break the formation by force. He began to prepare quickly according to the method Xiling taught him. Longao had already practiced the reincarnation sword technique and was slowly merging himself with the reincarnation sword. However, he still failed at the final step. No matter what, Longao was still unable to achieve the state of being one with the sword. Otherwise, if he truly merged with the reincarnation sword, he would be able to easily defeat Nirvana realm warriors, let alone Zhou Tian multiplication. Longao was looking forward to achieving the state of being one with the sword. However, at this time, he could only merge himself with the sword Qi. This was not too difficult for Longao. After merging himself with the sword Qi, Longao channeled all his strength and sent the terrifying sword Qi directly toward the space crack. That's right, he was heading straight for the spatial crack. If the chief-elect and Xingquan saw this, they would probably scold Longao for being stupid. Even if he knew that he couldn't break the formation, he wouldn't go so far as to seek death. Azura Peak Back Mountain. 15 days had passed. Just as Chief-elect and Xingquan could not wait any longer, Chief-elect was overjoyed. He said impatiently, "Big brother, Longao's aura has disappeared." What did this mean? Xingquan was very clear in his heart that the chief-elect's meaning was very simple. Longao's aura had disappeared, which meant that Longao had already died in the array formation. It would be unrealistic to say that he was not happy. Just as Xingquan was about to speak, a loud noise suddenly came from the array in front of them. The two of them looked at each other, not knowing what had happened. As for the others, they were all shocked. Longao was already dead. So what would happen? Oh no! Just when Chief-elect thought that Longao was dead, Long's body suddenly shot out. Longao? Looking at Longao, who was standing in the void of the 9th heaven, everyone's expression changed drastically. They all stood there stupidly, especially Xingquan and Chief-elect. They simply could not understand how Longao could break out of the array. After all, the power of the space-killing array was there. Unless a starry sky warrior personally came, who could break the array. Longao could be said to have narrowly escaped death in breaking the formation this time. However, in the end, it was because Long Fu borrowed the power of the Longao's dragon seal that Longao was able to break open the space crack and leave the formation. Otherwise, even if Longao used his body as a sword and broke through the formation, he would have been seriously injured. Longao slowly came out from the space crack and arrived in front of everyone. He smiled and said, "Xingquan, I've successfully broken the formation. What do you think of the 3 conditions we agreed on?" Xingquan's face was extremely gloomy. It was as ugly as it could get. Because from the beginning to the end, Xingquan had never thought that Longao could really break open the space absolute killing formation. If he didn't see it with his own eyes, it would be hard to believe. Handing over Yi Wutian and Yi Wudi, Xingquan did not feel the slightest bit of heartache. No matter what, the two of them were not his people. Since they could betray the Purple Thunder sect, there was a possibility that they would betray him. Therefore, the two of them would die sooner or later. The only person Xing Kun truly cared about was the chief-elect beside him. Because in Xing Kun's eyes, even if there were 10,000 Yi Wutian and Yi Wuti, they would not be able to resist a chief-elect. Not to mention the 10,000 years of brotherhood, just the chief-elect's skill in formations was enough to show disdain for the world. Unless it was a starry sky array master or a starry sky cultivator, no one would be able to defeat a chief-elect. Xing Kun cursed in his heart. He had never thought that Longao would be able to break out of the space-killing formation. Looking at the chief-elect beside him, before Xing Kun could say anything, the chief-elect had already stepped forward and said, "Longao, one wrong step leads to many wrong steps. No matter how you broke out of the space-killing formation or whose strength you borrowed, since you have broken out of the space-killing formation from today onwards, I will follow by your side. However, you have to agree to one condition of mine. Otherwise, even if I follow you, I will not help you in any way."
Please speak.
Longao had seen the chief-elect's skill in formations with his own eyes. The space-killing formation was hailed as the #1 formation under the starry sky. It was not something that anyone could casually set up. Even if it was him, who had already become a divine realm array master, Longao did not have full confidence that he could set it up successfully. 10,000 years to set up a space-killing formation. The fact that the chief-elect was a divine realm array master was enough to prove it. Precisely because of this, Longao had already decided that no matter what happened, he had to obtain this chief-elect. No matter what happens in the future, you're not allowed to kill my big brother. This much. Hearing the chief-elect's words, Longao was a little surprised. As for Xing Kun, he coldly snorted. In his eyes, Longao was nothing. However, since things had already reached the stage, he did not say anything. Instead, he forcefully endured it. He was afraid that he would not be able to control himself and end up killing Longao. If that happened, he would definitely be devoured by the blood oath, and the consequences would be unimaginable. Chief-elect, I have no objections to my request. However, I want to ask you something. Even if I don't kill him in the future, what if Xing Kun kills me? Big brother. Chief-elect, you don't need to say anything more. The enmity between me and Longao will definitely not be forgotten. Xing Kun sneered. What kind of joke was this? It was just a small Longao. If he had to rely on his brother to plead for him, where would his face go? The chief-elect seemed to want to say something, but Longao had already said, "Chief-elect, I promise you that no matter what happens in the future, I will not personally kill Xing Kun. Take it as a promise."
How about that? Thank you.
After dealing with the chief-elect, Longao coldly looked at Yi Wutian and Yi Wuti. He coldly said, "Xing Kun, where are the two of them? Although I agreed to hand them over, as for whether or not you can kill them, that will depend on your own ability. What does that have to do with me?" Xing Kun was furious to the extreme. He was like a volcano that was about to erupt. If it weren't for the blood oath, he would have already attacked. "Let's go." Hearing Xing Kun's words, Yi Wutian and Yi Wuti naturally knew what had happened. They did not dare to stay any longer. They immediately turned around and walked in the direction behind them. In the blink of an eye, they had disappeared without a trace. Longao did not chase because he knew that Xing Kun would definitely not let this matter rest. The most important thing right now was to leave this place as soon as possible. A chief-elect was equivalent to 10,000 Yi Wutian and Yi Wuti. In the future, he could kill the two of them at any time. "Chief-elect, let's go." The chief-elect nodded. Then, the two of them stood up and left. Watching the two figures gradually disappear into the sky, Xing Kun's expression became more and more gloomy. However, due to the blood oath's backlash, he could only watch as Longao left. Xing Kun sighed deeply. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have done it in the first place. Although the spatial absolute death formation was still there, it lacked a chief-elect to activate and operate it. In other words, the spatial absolute death formation was now a useless formation. 10,000 years of preparation had been destroyed in a single day. On the way back to the massacre abyss, Longao's expression was calm. He did not say anything. After coughing twice, the chief-elect suddenly asked, "Master, I really want to ask you a question. How did you break out of the space-killing formation?" Longao smiled. He had already guessed that the chief-elect would definitely ask him this question. No matter what, the space-killing formation was a super formation that the chief-elect had spent 10,000 years to set up with great difficulty. In the chief-elect's opinion, no matter what, he would not be able to break out of the space-killing formation. In the end, it was the opposite. The chief-elect naturally wanted to know how he had broken out of the space-killing formation. Let alone the chief-elect, if it was him, he would also want to know. Without hiding anything, Longao said, "It's very simple. I used my body as a sword and used all my strength to attack a certain point in the space-killing formation. Not only that, I also borrowed the power of a divine weapon to barely break out of the space-killing formation. Otherwise, I believe that I would not have been able to break out of the space-killing formation." The chief-elect was shocked when he heard the words, using his body as a sword and using a point to break out of the space-killing formation. He had never imagined that Longao would come up with such a method to break out of the space-killing formation. All along, the chief-elect had thought that Longao had relied entirely on the power of Jianling's primordial spirit to break out of the space-killing formation. Now that he heard Longao's method, even the chief-elect was filled with admiration. He believed that other than Longao, no one else would dare to try such a method to break out of the space-killing formation. The chief-elect smiled. "You're going to die, and you're going to fight to survive. Master, you promised me not to kill Xing just now. I am very grateful. No need to be so polite. Since you have chosen to follow me, from now on, you and I are on the same side." On the same side. For some reason, the chief-elect felt a little touched when he heard these three words. It was not because of anything else. Just the fact that Longao had promised not to kill Xing personally for his sake was enough to explain the situation. "Master, why didn't you let me take the space-killing formation away?" "Chief-elect, you're exaggerating. Since you spent 10,000 years to set up the space-killing formation, you should have the right to decide what to do with it. Even if you follow me, I have no right to ask you to take the space-killing formation away." The chief-elect's expression became very strange when he heard Longao's words. He said, "Master, I will think of a way to take the space-killing formation away." Chapter 17:02. Could it be taken away? Of course, ordinary formations could. However, it would be difficult to take away a supreme formation like the space absolute killing formation. He seemed to be able to guess what the master was thinking. Chief-elect smiled and said, "Sect Master, what I mean is that I will take away the formation I and the rest of the space killing formation. With our formation skills working together, I believe that it won't take long for us to set up a new space killing formation. As for the previous one, it is already useless." He was overjoyed. Longao had seen the power of the space absolute killing formation with his own eyes. Longao didn't return to the massacre abyss. Instead, he headed for the Nine Provinces continent. Nine Provinces continent. Dragon Valley. With the space absolute killing formation, even Blood Demon wouldn't dare to casually enter unless his cultivation base had reached the Starry Sky realm. "Chief-elect, it's all up to you." Chief-elect was very curious. In his opinion, the space absolute killing formation had to be set up in the Tianwu continent. That way, the dragon sect could develop better. Why set it up here? Chief-elect didn't ask because Longao hadn't said anything. What Chief-elect didn't know was that in Longao's heart, his family was the most important. Chief-elect and Longao worked together and immediately set up the space absolute killing formation. Xing, who was far away in the Tianwu continent, had already thought of this. 10,000 years of preparation was just a wedding dress for someone else. 3 days and 3 nights. The two god-level formation masters didn't sleep or rest. Finally, on the morning of the fourth day, they finished setting it up. Knowing that at this moment, Longao finally heaved a sigh of relief, because if the space absolute killing array was successfully set up, then the Dragon Valley would be completely safe and sound, unless a starry sky martial artist descended. Otherwise, no matter who it was, once they stepped into the space absolute killing array, they would definitely die. Space cracks were like forbidden energy. They could kill any warrior in the world. Master, we've successfully set up the space absolute killing formation. Should we stay here or return to the Tianwu continent? Chief Elect's ambition was great. He naturally hoped to help the Dragon Sect become one of the 10 great powers. How could Longao not know what Chief Elect wanted? Tomorrow, we will head back to the Sky Martial Continent. Rest well tonight. Longao had already said these words. Even if the chief had 1,000 words to say, he could only forcefully swallow them back. At night, the entire Dragon Valley was very quiet, and Longao arrived at an extremely secluded place by himself. Inside the secret chamber. "Ao, you're back." He nodded. Longao could clearly sense that his grandfather had undergone several months of closed-door cultivation. Although he had not completely integrated with the Starry Sky inheritance, his strength had undergone earth-shaking changes. Nirvana realm. If it was in the past, Longao would never believe it. After all, his grandfather's natural talent was obvious. Not to mention the rebirth realm. Whether his grandfather would be able to attain the supreme divine Tao was an unknown. The Starry Sky inheritance was worthy of its name. "Congratulations, grandfather," Longao said helplessly. "Ao, even though I've devoured the inheritance of the stars, my talent is limited. Otherwise, I wouldn't be stuck at a higher level after so long." Was Grandpa's talent not enough? "Grandfather, I can say with certainty that if someone else had obtained the Starry Sky inheritance, they wouldn't have been able to reach the Nirvana realm in such a short time." As if not wanting to dwell on this matter, Longao said, "Grandfather, I've come this time." Next, Longao explained the spatial killing formation he had set up in detail. Not only that, but Longao also told his grandfather how to activate it. Longao was confident that in another 2 years, when his grandfather and big brother's cultivation broke through to the Starry Sky realm, and with the space absolute killing array, the Dragon Valley could sit back and relax, and he would not have any worries. Longao understood his grandson's intentions. "Grandfather, I won't disturb your cultivation any longer." Longao slowly left the secret chamber. He didn't say goodbye to his parents, Aoshue or Yuin. He didn't want to feel a deep sense of reluctance every time he left Tianwu continent. Along the way, other than hurrying, Longao had been practicing the 36 forms of reincarnation. He had already seen the power of the first form, Reincarnation 9 Kill. That was why Longao couldn't wait to see the power of the next move, Massacre Abyss. The Massacre Abyss was now the main camp of the Dragon Sect. After 3 days of fighting, Yunluishan and the other two had conquered the Massacre Abyss. Dragon City. The current Dragon City was no longer as chaotic as before. Disciples of the Dragon Sect were everywhere. Anyone who disobeyed would be killed without mercy. Desperate times called for desperate measures. Once the heart softened, there would be endless trouble in the future. "Master, we've already occupied the Massacre Abyss. Under such circumstances, we can attack or retreat. This is the best time to strike." Big Brother is right. "Master, the Azura Palace has surpassed the Black Heaven sect and become one of the 10 pillars. If we don't strike now, we'll be in a passive position." Elder Lu Li, what do you think about this? The 3 of them were very capable. However, among the 3 of them, Longao favored Lu Li more. It wasn't because Lu Li was strong, but because Lu Li City was very deep. "Master, I agree with what the 2 elders have said. We are already invincible among the second-rate forces. The most important thing now is to enter the 10-direction cauldron." After repeated discussions, the 3 of us have decided that among the 10-direction cauldron, we will first choose Heaven and Earth sect. Heaven and Earth sect? Longao was surprised. He never thought that the three elders would choose the Heaven and Earth sect. After all, among the 10 pillars, the Heaven and Earth sect was very powerful. They could definitely be ranked in the top 5.
Why?
Master, we've received news. We don't know why, but the Heaven and Earth sect is having internal strife. There are countless casualties. If we strike now, we'll succeed in destroying the Heaven and Earth sect and replace them. Internal strife? After listening to Lu Li's news, Longao was even more curious. Based on his understanding of Yi Dugu, not only was he very shrewd, he was also very powerful. Even Tong Zun might not be his opponent. How could such a powerful person cause internal strife in the Heaven and Earth sect? It's not that he didn't believe it, but he couldn't believe it. Could it be that the Heaven and Earth sect was just a trap? Master, we've also received another news. The sovereign of the Heaven and Earth sect, Yi Dugu, is nowhere to be found. He's not even in the Heaven and Earth sect. So that's why. Longao finally knew why the Heaven and Earth sect was having internal strife. It was because Yi Dugu wasn't here. Longao couldn't figure out where Yi Dugu would go in this chaotic period. There must be something fishy going on. Chapter 1703. Heaven and Earth Sect, one of the 10 forces. Legend had it that there were 12 Nirvana realm martial artists in Heaven and Earth Sect. Among the 10 forces, they were considered extremely powerful. With Heaven and Earth Sect strength, they could get a share of the chaos. At the very least, they could protect their position as one of the 10 forces. But the sect master of Heaven and Earth Sect, Yi Dugu, suddenly disappeared. The 12 Nirvana realm martial artists under the sect were divided into 2 factions. They fought, causing countless casualties in Heaven and Earth Sect. Everyone in the continent was shocked by the internal strife in Heaven and Earth Sect. They did not know what was going on in Heaven and Earth Sect. If it was during normal times, there wouldn't be any problems. As the saying went, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. Even if there was an internal strife in Heaven and Earth Sect, no one would think of attacking Heaven and Earth Sect.
But now?
The situation was completely different. During the chaos, there were many people who wanted to take the chance to divide Heaven and Earth Sect. Wouldn't it be too ostentatious to strike at this time? Longao was clear about the situation he was in. Although no one was going against him at the moment, the temptation of Jianling's primordial spirit was there. Everyone was tempted. If they couldn't deal with Heaven and Earth Sect, wouldn't they be going for wool and coming home shorn? Master, we agree that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Let me think about it. As the 3 of them left, Longao was the only one left in the hall.
Boom.
At this moment, the entire continent trembled. Everyone was shocked because this tremor came from the headquarters of the Heaven and Earth Sect. What was going on? Heaven and Earth Sect. The Heaven and Earth chessboard exploded. Everyone in Heaven and Earth Sect, including the 12 Nirvana realm martial artists, died and were swallowed by the space crack. That's right, it was the space crack. The Heaven and Earth chessboard exploded, causing countless cracks to appear in the surrounding space. All the people and creatures that were swallowed were turned into ashes. Everyone who heard the news was dumbfounded. What sin did Heaven and Earth Sect commit? They were destroyed by the explosion of the Heaven and Earth chessboard. If not for the fact that Yi Dugu wasn't in Heaven and Earth Sect, he would have died by now. In other words, Yi Dugu was the only general left in Heaven and Earth Sect.
Sad.
No one sympathized with the Heaven and Earth Sect. Instead, they were gloating over their misfortune. Following the destruction of the Heaven and Earth Sect, the 10-direction cauldron had one less superpower. Everyone was eyeing the position of the next 10-direction cauldron. Following the destruction of the Heaven and Earth Sect, the Heaven and Earth Sect became a forbidden ground in the mainland. No one dared to take a step forward. Who knew if the spatial crack still had any residual power? If he was careless and got swallowed by the spatial crack, he wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. In the ruins, Yi Dugu stood alone. His eyes were extremely cold, and his face was extremely ugly. Old thing, you're an unworthy father. You'd rather self-destruct than hand it over to me. In this lifetime, even if I die, I'll never acknowledge you. It turned out that in order to break through the starry sky realm and conquer the world, Yidogu entered the chessboard of heaven and earth to find his father and ask for the starry sky inheritance. The result was obvious. Not only did Yi Xian not hand over the starry sky inheritance, he even chose to self-destruct. Not only did he self-destruct, but he also self-destructed with the starry sky inheritance. What did this mean? The self-destruction of the starry sky inheritance caused the entire chessboard of heaven and earth to explode. There were even cracks in the space. Not only did the heaven and earth sect suffer, even the two divine beasts clans in the chessboard of heaven and earth perished and disappeared. The starry sky inheritance. After asking for 10,000 years, Yidogu tried all kinds of methods, but he still couldn't get the starry sky inheritance that he wanted. Resentment. Yidogu's heart was filled with endless resentment. Even if Yi Xian was his father, he still hated him to the core. Not only did he not get the starry sky inheritance, he even ruined the entire heaven and earth sect. Even if his strength was heaven-defying, it was impossible for him to rebuild the heaven and earth sect in a short period of time. The 10-direction cauldron was no longer fated with him. Yi Xian, I hate you. You're really shameless. Not only did you kill your own father, you're even cursing here. Trash like you deserves to be punished. Hearing the voice behind him, Yidogu jumped in fright and hurriedly turned around.
You.
Looking at the middle-aged man who suddenly appeared in front of him, Yidogu was completely dumbfounded. He couldn't understand why Long Batian would suddenly appear here. Didn't Long Batian already leave the Sky Martial Continent? Long Batian, didn't you already leave the Sky Martial Continent? Others might not know, but Yidogu was 100% sure that the three great starry sky martial warriors of the Sky Martial Continent, the godly mathematician, Tian Dao, and Long Batian, had all left the Sky Martial Continent. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so anxious to force his father to hand over the starry sky inheritance. Because of this, when Yidogu saw Long Batian, he was a little dumbfounded. Only a few people knew that Long Batian was a starry sky martial warrior. Even Tong Zun and the others didn't know. Can I come back after I leave? Ridiculous. Really ridiculous. As if thinking of something, Yidogu's face was full of shock. He said solemnly, so you've already broken through. If I'm not wrong, you should be a 9th-level starry sky martial warrior now. Yidogu had heard the godly mathematician mention that Tian Dao was a 9th-level starry sky martial warrior, and Long Batian was an 8th-level starry sky martial warrior. In order to break through to a higher level, both of them left the Sky Martial Continent and entered the vast starry sky to cultivate. Yidogu was very clear that if Long Batian hadn't broken through, he wouldn't have chosen to come back so easily. Since Long Batian had returned, there was only one possibility. Long Batian's cultivation had successfully advanced from a grade 8 starry sky cultivator to a grade 9 starry sky cultivator. Although Long Batian did not want to believe it, the facts were right in front of him. Long Batian didn't deny it, which meant he admitted it. If Tian Dao hadn't broken through in the vast starry sky, then from now on, Long Batian would be on the same level as him. Would Tian Dao be able to break through? It had to be known that Tian Dao was already a 9th-level starry sky martial warrior. Once he broke through, he would directly become a starry sky domain lord. Such a super-existence would be first class even in the vast starry sky, let alone the Sky Martial Continent. Long Batian, you should know my identity, so you can't kill me. Yidogu was full of confidence. Without the godly mathematician's support, would Yidogu dare to be so arrogant? Of course not. How could Long Batian not know this? Chapter 1704. Do you think the godly diviner will know if I kill you without anyone knowing? He was startled. The godly diviner wasn't in the Tianwu continent. Yi Dugu couldn't guarantee that the godly diviner would be able to find out if Long Batian really attacked. Just as Long Batian was about to attack, his expression changed. "I'll spare you for today." As soon as he said that, Long Batian's figure suddenly disappeared. He came quickly and left even faster. He was a little dumbfounded. Why did Long Batian suddenly leave? He couldn't figure it out. He really couldn't figure it out. Was it because of the godly diviner? There was no other possibility. Yi Dugu knew that unless the godly diviner returned to the continent, who could stop Long Batian? He believed that even the current heavenly Tao couldn't stop Long Batian from killing him. Yi Dugu didn't want to be in such a passive situation. He was very depressed in his heart. With Yi Xian's self-destruction, the starry sky inheritance exploded. From now on, if he wanted to break through to the starry sky realm, he would have to devour the source energy. Outer Sea. Inside the Crystal Palace. Long Batian was also a little surprised. He didn't expect the godly diviner to suddenly return at this time. Even if he was a 9th-level starry sky cultivator, Long Batian was still very afraid of the godly diviner. The starry sky domain emperor wasn't just for show. Not to mention the Tianwu continent, even in the vast starry sky, the godly diviner was the top existence. "Lord Godly Diviner, why did you suddenly come back?" The heaven and earth chessboard suddenly exploded. "If I didn't come back to stabilize the continent, I believe it would have been completely destroyed." "I see." Long Batian never thought that the heaven and earth chessboard would cause such a commotion and even attract the godly diviner. Otherwise, he would have been able to kill Yi Dugu this time. Long Batian was full of confidence. Even if the godly diviner knew about this, he wouldn't deal with him for a little Yi Dugu. "Lord Godly Diviner, how are you going to deal with Yi Dugu? Why do you want to deal with him?"
Huh?
Long Batian's heart skipped a beat upon hearing Master Godly Mathematician's words. Was the godly diviner pretending to be confused? Long Batian didn't say anything, but the godly diviner's face. "This matter ends."
End.
What else could Long Batian say after Master Godly Mathematician said so? "You made a breakthrough in your cultivation? Thanks to Sir Divine Mathematician's blessings, I came across a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity when I entered the vast starry sky. 2 grade 9 starry sky cultivators fought each other, and in the end, both sides suffered heavy losses. I devoured one of the starry sky inheritances, while the other devoured the other starry sky inheritances. Therefore, after a few months of fusion, I have successfully reached grade 9 starry sky cultivator. If he devoured it once, he would have to devour it again and again in the future. Because you've devoured it this time, if you want to rely on your own efforts to continue to increase your strength, it will be countless times more difficult than for others to break through normally. This was also the real reason why many people were unwilling to devour inheritances. However, Long Batian was not a fool. His cultivation had already reached the level of a grade 8 starry sky cultivator. If he wanted to break through and reach the level of a grade 9 starry sky cultivator, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Therefore, if he had the opportunity to devour the grade 9 starry sky essence spirit inheritance, why would he choose to give it up? If the heavenly Tao returns empty-handed this time, you will be on the same level. At this point, Master God Diviner didn't seem to want to continue. Heavenly Tao. Long Batian hated the heavenly Tao because the heavenly Tao had always suppressed him. Back then, Master God Diviner had chosen 2 people. One was him, and the other was the heavenly Tao. However, the heavenly Tao's talent was indeed above his. Even when he broke through from the grade 8 starry sky realm to the grade 9 starry sky realm, he had relied on his own talent and efforts instead of devouring a starry sky inheritance. This point alone was enough to beat him by many times. Long Batian knew very well that even if his cultivation had broken through to the grade 9 starry sky cultivator, who would break through to the starry sky domain lord realm faster than him, there was no doubt that it would be the heavenly Tao, not him. Even at this moment, Long Batian still couldn't figure out why Master God Diviner refused to deal with the heavenly Tao. Cutting the grass without removing the roots would cause it to grow again. With the heavenly Tao's talent, who knew how far he could reach in the future, seemingly able to see through Long Baitian's thoughts, Master God Diviner sighed deeply and said helplessly, "There are some things that I can't do as I please. It's already predetermined. I will deal with the heavenly Tao's matter. This time, when the heavenly Tao returns, don't go against him." What did this mean? Long Batian wasn't a fool. Of course, he understood the meaning behind Master God Diviner's words. Even if he didn't want to, since Master God Diviner had already said so, he could only choose to compromise. "I know what to do. I believe in you. This time, the continent is in turmoil. I want to reestablish the structure of the continent. Instead of letting the heavenly Tao mess around, it's better to settle everything before he returns. This way, even if he returns, the structure of the continent will be set. With my deterrence, he won't do anything too outrageous." Could it be that the heavenly Tao's cultivation had already broken through to the starry sky domain Lord realm? If that was the case, then he really didn't have a chance. This was because Long Batian knew very well how big the gap between a starry sky domain Lord realm and a grade 9 starry sky cultivator was. One was in the sky, while the other was on the ground. It was just like the gap between a Hotian realm cultivator and a Xiantian realm cultivator. There is one more thing. You are not allowed to intervene in any of the matters of the continent, especially Longao. Do you understand? Master God Diviner already knew that Long Batian would definitely secretly help Longao. Given Long Baitian's strength, once he took action, who else in the world could stop Long Batian? Master God Diviner had obviously done this deliberately. Of course, he wouldn't let Long Batian casually intervene. It was very difficult, but Long Batian finally nodded and said, "I won't interfere. I also want to see what kind of surprise Longao, who even Master Clairvoyant can't predict, will bring. But Master Clairvoyant, Xing Kuan has been reborn. If he breaks through to the starry sky realm, I will recover." He waved his hand. Before Long Batian could finish, Master God Diviner said, "Xing Kuan's matter is also a variable. It's not something you and I can control. Otherwise, Xing Kuan would have completely fallen back then. If we continue to intervene, I'm afraid we will be in big trouble. Since the variable has already been determined, let it be. If someone can kill Xing Kuan, even if they can't completely destroy him, they can still delay him for 10,000 years. If that's the case, we won't have to worry about anything in the future." Long Batian didn't think so. Chapter 17:05. The chessboard of heaven and earth exploded. The heaven and earth sect was swallowed by the space crack. The heaven and earth sect was completely destroyed. When the news spread, the world was shocked because no one was willing to believe that one of the 10 great sects was destroyed so carelessly. In the entire heaven and earth sect, only Yidugu was left. In a short time, Yidugu could not make a comeback. Once the turmoil ended, the continent structure would be reset, and even if Yidugu wanted to rejoin the 10 great sects, it would not be easy. In any case, the oracle and the heavenly axiom were there. No one was willing to provoke the 2 super void martial artists, unless there was water in their heads or they were not afraid of death. The destruction of the heaven and earth sect was just a flash of lightning, a fleeting cloud. In just a few days, no one discussed anything about the heaven and earth sect. With the destruction of the 10 great sects, only the 9 superpowers, the Long family, the Dan Alliance, the Martial Artists Alliance, the Thousand Beasts sect, the 5 Elements sect, the Wanjan School, the Sword sect, the Purple Thunder sect, and the Azura Palace were left. Who could replace the Heaven and Earth sect and become one of the new 10 great sects? All the second-rate powers were red-eyed. They became even more frenzied, because all the second-rate powers knew very well that the destruction of the Heaven and Earth sect was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for all the second-rate powers. The Massacre Abyss. Inside the Dragon City. The 3 from Yunluo Mountain who heard the news were depressed to the extreme. Because from the beginning to the end, the three of them never thought that the Heaven and Earth sect would be destroyed for no reason. In this way, the dragon sect would become extremely passive. Master, now that the Heaven and Earth sect has been destroyed, all the second-rate powers are red-eyed and want to fight for one of the 10 great sects. What should we do? Wait and see. Wait and see? Looking at the master's indifferent face, the three were a little surprised. Does the master not want to join one of the 10 great sects? If we choose to fight with the second-rate sects at this time, in the end, even if we can join one of the 10 great sects, our vitality will be greatly damaged. The three of them seem to understand something. If that's really the case, the other 10 great sects, I'm afraid that they will be restless. Master, then we just watch from the sidelines. In the three's view, even if they did not fight with the second-rate powers, it would be like this. After all, there were less than 3 years when the continent's great sects. What should they do? Very worried. The three were also very great sects. Longao smiled and said, "The three of you need not be anxious. In the following period of time, we will not go head-to-head with any sect. However, we will make an example out of them. Kill to kill Earth kill?" The three of them were at a loss because at this moment, the sect master suddenly said, "Kill the chicken" to warn the monkey. They really couldn't figure out the meaning of the sentence. Kill sex kill sex sect. Kill kills twos. Kill. With an army of 500,000 corpse slaves, Longao was not afraid of any sect. As for the fear of others taking advantage of him, it was because of the martial artists alliance, the Long family, and the Wanshou sect. However, in the end, Longao decided to make an example out of the situation. Due to the Jianling primordial spirit, everyone in the surroundings became restless. If he did not use a formidable power to intimidate the surroundings, they would really think that he could pull out a tooth from a tiger's mouth. If you want to reap the benefits of the fisherman, you have to see who you want to reap the benefits of. 3 elders, I'll give each of you an army of 150,000 corpses. I'll lead 50,000 corpses, and we'll split into 4 groups. East, West, North, and South. We'll attack the second-rate sects at the same time. Remember, no matter which second-rate sect it is, if you meet a god, kill a god. If you meet a human, kill a human.
Huh?
Hearing the master's words, Yunluishan, Yunfeng, and Lu Li were all dumbfounded. According to the master's words, wouldn't they have to make an enemy out of the entire second-rate force? The three of them finally understood what the master meant by making an example out of the situation. Just now, the master had said that if they went head-to-head with the second-rate master, the other sects would reap the benefits. Now, in the blink of an eye, they had to make an enemy out of all the second-rate sections. What was the master trying to do? However, the three of them were very clear about the master's personality. Since the master had already decided, it would be very difficult for the three of them to change the master's mind. Since that was the case, the three of them did not hesitate at all and said in unison, "Master, we won't let you down." At this moment, Lu Li suddenly asked, "Master, what if we encounter the 10 Directions cauldrons?" "You won't encounter them." They did not know why the master was so confident, but the three of them still slowly retreated. The three of them were genuine Nirvana realm cultivators and had an army of 150,000 corpse slaves. They might not be able to deal with the 10 Directions cauldrons, but it was more than enough to deal with the second-rate sections. Bai Ling appeared and said worriedly, "Brother Long, if you do this, what if all the 10 Directions cauldrons join forces? At that time, we will be in a very passive position, especially when everyone wants to get us." How could Longao not know about Bai Ling's worries? Longao said with a smile, "Bai Ling, you don't have to worry. The reason why I made an example this time is to tell the world that if they want to seize what belongs to me, they will have to pay a heavy price. An army of 500,000 corpse slaves is enough to sweep across the continent. The most important thing now is to create more experts. Otherwise, we will still be at a disadvantage." The experts that Longao spoke of were Nirvana realm cultivators. Because no matter if it was before, now, or in the future, Nirvana realm cultivators were the most important force in a sect. In a sect, the more Nirvana realm cultivators there were, the higher their status would be. Just like the 10 Directions cauldrons now. No matter which sect it was, there would be no less than a few dozen Nirvana realm cultivators. As for himself, including Long Chong, Long Ming, and his reincarnation clone, he only had 7 Nirvana realm cultivators. He was still far from the 10 Directions cauldrons. If he could double or triple the number of Nirvana realm cultivators, then Longao would have the confidence to immediately resist the 10 Directions cauldrons. Otherwise, if he chose to fight them head-on, he would only be at a disadvantage. Brother Long, I know what you mean. My sister and I have a way to help you create hundreds of Nirvana realm cultivators in a short time.
Ah,
Is that true? He was a bit impatient. Longao was very clear on what Bai Ling meant. If they could really create hundreds of Nirvana realm cultivators, then other than the God Diviner and the Heavenly Daos, who would be his match on the Martial Heaven continent? Longao had never imagined that Xiling and Bai Ling would have such a method. Since that was the case, why hadn't they said so earlier? Chapter 1706. Was there something fishy going on? Longao knew very well that Bai Ling and Xiling would have told him if they could create hundreds of Nirvana realm warriors. Bai Ling, are you trying to kill Longao? Sister, with our help, he should be fine, right? Violet Spirit's expression was ugly. Xiling, what's the plan? Tell us first, and we'll decide later. What do you think? Xiling's expression changed again. In the end, Xiling nodded and said, Longao, my sister, and I got a secret technique that can create many Nirvana realm warriors in a short time. However, these Nirvana realm warriors can only last for 10 days at most.
huh,
I see. Under normal circumstances, it wouldn't be very meaningful if it could only last for 10 days. However, the current situation was different. Even if it could only last for 10 days, it was enough to deter the world. After all, if hundreds of Nirvana realm warriors suddenly appeared in the dragon sect, who wouldn't be afraid? What's the threat? Longao knew very well that if it could only last for 10 days, Xiling wouldn't stop him. Longao, using this secret technique will cause great harm to you. If you're not careful, you may not be able to enter the Starry Sky realm in the future. I see. If that's the case, it's indeed very dangerous. Bai Ling didn't seem to see it coming either. She hurriedly said, Brother Long, I'm sorry. I didn't know there would be such consequences. It's okay. He was a bit reluctant, but Longao was a man who could take risks. If he lost his chance to enter the Starry Sky realm because of short-term benefits, the loss would outweigh the gain. As if thinking of something, Longao suddenly said with a smile, Xiling, although I can't do this and others can't, there's one person who can and doesn't fear any backlash. Who? Regardless of whether it was Xiling or Bai Ling, the two of them could not seem to understand. Just who would not fear the backlash? Could it be a Starry Sky warrior? If he really was a Starry Sky cultivator, then using this secret technique should not cause any backlash. There were only 2 Starry Sky cultivators left on the Tianwu continent. One was the godly mathematician and the other was the heavenly Tao. The Tao of the heavens and Master God Diviner couldn't possibly be involved because the two of them weren't on the continent right now. Who could it be? He smiled mysteriously. Longao summoned his reincarnation avatar from his dantian. It looked exactly like Longao, and even its aura was the same. Only its empty eyes told everyone that it wasn't a real human. I see. Xiling smiled and said helplessly, You're right. Your reincarnated avatar is not afraid of any backlash. However, Longao, you still have to remember not to use the secret technique continuously. Otherwise, you will be implicated. Of course, Longao knew what Xiling meant. He was actually one with his reincarnation clone. Although he still did not know why the 9 Revolutions reincarnation technique was able to help him condense a clone, He was certain that if something were to happen to his reincarnation clone, he would not be able to escape responsibility. Be careful. It was better to be safe than sorry. In the following time, Xiling taught Longao the secret technique. Even with Longao's composure, he was a little shocked and even in disbelief after receiving this secret technique. It was actually very simple to create over 100 Nirvana realm martial artists in the shortest amount of time. All he had to do was to rely on the power of enlightenment to forcefully pour energy into the martial artist's body and forcefully raise the martial artist's realm. No wonder it could only last for 10 days. In fact, the secret technique that Longao obtained was exactly the same as the secret technique of the immemorial phoenix. It was just that the immemorial phoenix borrowed the power of the entire phoenix clan to be enlightened with great difficulty and successfully create a super powerhouse like Lu Yi. Longao also finally understood why Xiling did not let him use the secret technique continuously. Longao, when are you going to use this secret technique? He shook his head. Longao's face was resolute as he said, "This secret technique harms both others and myself. No matter when, I will not use this secret technique." He did not know before, but now that he knew, Longao certainly would not continue to use the secret technique. It turned out, if he used this secret technique, even if hundreds of people could maintain it for 10 days, they would only end up dead in the end. They would not even be able to enter the path of reincarnation. It was too sinister. Even if there were people willing to do it, Longao really did not want to do it. Seeing that Xiling was about to say something, Longao spoke first. "Xiling, I have made up my mind. This matter ends here." Xiling shook his head helplessly and said, "Longao, even if you split into 4 armies and take care of all the second-rate sects, it is still a little unrealistic for you to rely on the corpse slave army to enter the 10 Directions tripod." He nodded in agreement. How could Longao not know about this matter? However, in this situation, he did not know what to do. The 10 Directions tripod's strength was there for all to see. It was not something that could be done overnight to shake the 10 Directions tripod's position with 10,000 years of foundation. "Xiling, do you have a way?" "Starry Sky Realm." Hearing the words, Starry Sky Realm, Longao sighed deeply. If he could break through to the Starry Sky Realm, he would not be so passive. In this situation, it was almost impossible to comprehend the origin power. He did not continue to dwell on it. The next day, Longao, Yun Luoshan, Yun Feng, and Lu Li all got up and left the massacre abyss. The 3 elders each led an army of 150,000 corpse slaves, but Longao only led an army of less than 50,000 corpse slaves. The 4 of them split into 4 armies and quickly went to the north, south, east, and west. Longao and the other 3 were very fast. They directly attacked the second-rate forces when they saw them. Those who surrendered were spared, and those who resisted were killed without mercy. This was a special time. Because in this situation, Longao knew very well that mercy to the enemy was the greatest cruelty to oneself. Intimidating the world. One had to admit that Longao was indeed bold, because if he did that, the consequences would be unimaginable if everyone was dissatisfied. When the time came, everyone would join forces to attack Longao. Even the dragon sect would not be able to resist. The speed of the 4 of them was very fast. In a short 3 days, they had already eliminated 1/3 of the second-rate sections. The whole world was shocked. They didn't know what Longao meant. However, everyone was very afraid of the 500,000 corpse demon army. This kind of undead corpse demon was simply a tool of slaughter. Wherever it passed, not even a blade of grass would be left alive. The remaining second-rate sects were all in danger. They did not know if Longao would deal with them next. Therefore, all the second-rate sects asked for help from the 10 Directions tripod, hoping that the 10 Directions tripod would join forces to deal with the dragon sect. Would the 10 Directions tripod agree? Chapter 1707. Would the 10-directional tripod choose to deal with the dragon sect, or would they choose to watch from the sidelines? No one knew. Longao had already destroyed a third of the second-rate sections. At this rate, in less than half a month, he believed that all the second-rate sects would be destroyed. Among all the second-rate sections, other than the Azura Palace, the Purple Flame sect, and the Cloud Valley, there were at most 2 other second-rate sects with Nirvana Realm warriors. Before Longao could make a move, the 2 second-rate sects had already chosen to join the 10-directional tripod. Some were destroyed, and some were surrendered. Since the beginning of the turmoil, all the sects had been involved in the war. However, with the addition of Longao, all the second-rate forces had disappeared in a short span of 10 days. In other words, in the current Tianwu continent, there were only the 10-directional tripod, third-rate, and fourth-rate forces. There were no second-rate forces, and the middle had become a vacuum. It shocked the world. The 10-directional tripod never thought that Longao would be so wild to actually destroy all the second-rate forces. This was completely a method of self-abuse. Everyone could almost be sure that Longao would be in endless trouble in the future. Everyone was in danger. The 10-directional tripod, the Mysterious Sky sect, and the Heaven and Earth sect had been destroyed, and the remaining sects were the Long family, the Dan Alliance, the Martial Artists Alliance, the Wanshou sect, the Five Elements sect, the Wanzhong School, the Sword sect, the Purple Thunder sect, and the Azura Palace. The Azura Palace had already replaced the Mysterious Sky sect as one of the 2 vacated 10-directional tripod. As for the replacement position of the Heaven and Earth sect, all the sects were eager to try. However, with all the second-rate sects gone, the most qualified sect to replace the Heaven and Earth sect as one of the new 10-directional tripod was undoubtedly the Dragon sect. The current 10-directional tripod, the new 10-directional tripod, were the Long family, the Dan Alliance, the Martial Artists Alliance, the Wanshou sect, the Five Elements sect, the Wanzhong School, the Sword sect, the Purple Thunder sect, the Azura Palace, and the Dragon sect. Longao was truly famous under the heavens. At this moment, everyone was a little dumbfounded because Longao's background was no secret at all. Longao came from the Scarlet Flame town and was born as trash. Not only that, Longao's clan was only a 9th-rank Long family. Among the 9 ranks of Longao's clan was at the bottom. If it wasn't for Longao's strong rise, who would have thought that a trash from a small family could grow to such a stage in just a few years? If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, who would have believed it? A peerless genius. A super monster. He wasn't even human. This was the evaluation of Longao. In everyone's eyes, Longao was an extremely arrogant and cruel murderous devil. Just as Longao had guessed, the destruction of a second-rate sect had completely shocked the entire continent. The other 9 super forces were all eyeing them covetously. This wasn't because the Dragon sect had become the new tripod of 10. Anyway, it was a period of turmoil. No matter who took over as the new tripod of 10, it was the same to them. 3 years later, the power structure of the continent would be reset. As long as they could keep their position, it would be fine. Long family. In the main hall, Long family ancestor Long Tian, Dragon clan ancestor Primordial Divine Dragon, Long family patriarch Long Di Tian, and elder Long Heng. The 4 of them were extremely gloomy because the rise of the Dragon sect was like a slap to their faces. This slap was too resounding. The main hall was silent, so silent that it was terrifying. No one knew how long had passed. Long Heng said coldly, "Ancestor, patriarch, Longao is obviously making things difficult for us this time. The world will laugh at us." What a ridiculous thing. This time, Longao had brought the Dragon sect to rise up and become a tripod of 10 directions. This was something that he had already thought about. However, Long Heng hated Longao to the core and wanted Longao to be torn apart. Long Heng knew his own limits. With his current strength, it was very difficult to fight against Longao. Unless the ancestor and patriarch took action, only then would they have full confidence in eliminating Longao. He nodded. Long Di Tian was extremely regretful now. This was because if he had been more decisive back then, he would have directly destroyed Longao and wouldn't have brought him so much trouble. If he didn't remove the roots, it would grow again when the spring breeze blew. There would be endless trouble in the future. Long Di Tian's voice was even colder as he said, Long Ao's achievements today are all because of the Jianling primordial spirit in his body. Otherwise, he would have relied on a piece of trash. At this point, Long Di Tian didn't continue because the meaning of his words was very clear. Long Di Tian was not the only one who thought so. Everyone thought so. How could a piece of trash, who could not even become a Xiantian martial artist, become a Nirvana martial artist in just a few years? Furthermore, he had even led his own sect to become one of the top 10 martial artists. If not for the help of Jianling primordial spirit, would Long Ao be able to do it? There was no doubt about it. After all, the original body of Jianling's primordial spirit was a starry sky expert. Even if its strength was inferior to the original body, it was more than enough to help a piece of trash become a Nirvana realm warrior. Long Ao's luck was too good. The more it was so, the more Long Di Tian regretted it. If he had killed Long Ao back then, not only would he have been able to eliminate the roots, he would have even been able to obtain the Jianling primordial spirit in Long Ao's body. If he could obtain Jianling's primordial spirit, Long family would be able to dominate the world in a matter of minutes. Long Tian didn't think so. He said, Long Ao was able to obtain the help of Jianling's primordial spirit because of luck. A victory is a victory. There's no need to say anything more. The two of you can leave first. They seemed to be a little surprised, but since the old ancestor had already said so, even if the two of them wanted to continue, they swallowed their words. Long Hang and Long Di Tian stood up and left the hall. Only Long Di Tian and the primordial divine dragon were left in the hall. Second brother, I've let you down. I didn't expect that the origin energy I transferred to you this time would be useless. Until now, Long Tian still hadn't reacted. According to his guess, since the divine mathematician had chosen him and Tongzun, why didn't he help the primordial divine dragon and Tongzun's partner, Sky Wolf, who had also reached the starry sky realm? Previously, he had almost been killed by Long Ao. Until now, the primordial divine dragon was still a little scared. If the divine mathematician hadn't appeared in time, he would have died by now. Big brother, as long as you can reach the starry sky realm, helping you break through to the starry sky realm in the future is almost guaranteed. The most important thing now is for you to break through to the starry sky realm as soon as possible. You're right, but I'm a little worried about Long Ao's sudden rise. Although the divine mathematician didn't say it clearly, I can sense that Long Ao is a variable. Otherwise, the divine mathematician wouldn't have done this. Chapter 17:08. Big brother, aren't you overthinking things? The primordial divine dragon naturally didn't believe him. Big brother, with the master god diviner's power, is there anyone in the martial heaven continent, or even the entire universe, that he cares about? Others didn't know the master god diviner's power, but the primordial divine dragon was well aware. The starry sky domain emperor was a peak existence in the universe. Long Tian shook his head and sighed deeply. There are countless experts in the universe. Even the master god diviner wouldn't dare call himself unrivaled. The primordial divine dragon was a bit surprised, but he didn't say anything. Let's not talk about others. Just the owner of the 12 primal chaos steels isn't someone the master god diviner can contend against. Big brother, how many of the 12 primal chaos steels entered the continent back then? I don't know. He felt both helpless and expectant. It's said that no matter who obtains the primal chaos steels, they can become a supreme expert in the universe. But after so many years, no one has been able to obtain a primal chaos steel. I'm even beginning to wonder if there really is such a thing. The primordial divine dragon wanted to say something, but he found himself speechless. Whether it was martial artists or primal chaos steels, they weren't things he could meddle with. As if he didn't want to dwell on this matter, Long Tian suddenly said, Long Ao must be eliminated. Otherwise, he'll definitely become a problem in the future. Was that really possible? The primordial divine dragon's face was filled with disdain and ridicule. He smiled. Big brother, you're worrying too much. Let's not talk about now. Even in the future, once your cultivation base reaches the starry sky realm, a puny Longao will be nothing. Was that really the case? Big brother, I want Jianling's yuan spirit. I'll do my best to help you. It wasn't just the primordial divine dragon who had such thoughts. Even Tong Zun, who had already devoured the origin energy, wanted Jianling's yuan spirit in Longao's body. The Massacre Abyss. Dragon City. After successfully entering the 10 tripod, Longao didn't relax in the slightest. He strengthened the defenses of the Massacre Abyss. Although there was only one exit and who knew if it would be broken through, it was best to be careful, especially in this kind of situation. Master, we've successfully entered the ranks of the 10 tripod. The most important thing now is to recuperate. Under normal circumstances, Mount Yunlua's suggestion would be the best solution.
But now,
as the saying goes, special times require special treatment. Elder Yun, 3 years later, I will definitely accept your suggestion. But now, he was shocked. Whether it was Yun Luishan, Yun Feng, or Lu Li, none of them would have thought that the master would reject it. Could it be that master wanted it? Thinking of this, their hearts skipped a beat. Yun Luishan hurriedly said, Master, you can't do that. We've already destroyed many second-rate sects and caused a lot of resentment. If we continue to deal with third-rate sects now, I'm afraid it will cause even more resentment. When the time comes, the other sects will join forces to deal with us. The consequences will be unimaginable. He shook his head. Seeing the master shake his head, the 3 of them finally heaved a sigh of relief. Could it be that the master wasn't dealing with a third-rate force? Gentlemen, I'm not going to deal with third-rate sections. My next target is Long family.
Huh?
The 3 of them were stunned, because the 3 of them had never thought that the master was not going to deal with a third-rate sect, but one of the 10 sects, the Long family. Master, you can't do that. Not to mention the strength of the Long family, the taboo power of the Dragon Clan alone is invincible. Unless a starry sky martial artist comes in person, we will be very passive. Taboo power? He did not take the taboo power seriously at all. If a starry sky martial artist, even if it was only a first-level starry sky cultivator, used the taboo power, Longao would be very afraid. Only the taboo power of the Dragon Clan was not something he was afraid of. Gentlemen, I've made up my mind. You 3 will come up with a plan for me. This time, we can only succeed, we can't fail. Since the master has decided, the 3 of us will come up with a plan as soon as possible. Since things had come to this, what else could the 3 of them do? They could only choose to follow. If they had to die, they would die together. To deal with the Long family, Longao could not wait. As early as in the Red Fire town, he was very dissatisfied with the Long family. The 10 sects, including all the forces, did not have a hierarchy. Only the Long family, unexpectedly, had 9 levels of clans. This was not a big deal, but the low-level clans were simply like slaves, even worse than slaves. Especially the grievances with the Long family. This battle was unavoidable. Since that was the case, why should he waste time? It was better to fight early than late. At this time, Longao suddenly heard a spiritual sense transmission in his mind. His face changed slightly, and he immediately said, I'm going out. Before the 3 of them could react, Longao's figure had disappeared without a trace. The 3 of them looked at each other and saw a trace of helplessness in each other's eyes. They were very helpless. The 3 of them sighed deeply at the same time. Lu Li helplessly said, although the master's actions are very risky, you have to admit that in this period of turmoil, only a peerless figure like the master can open up new territory and achieve great things. Yun Luoshan and Yun Feng nodded in agreement. Outside the slaughter abyss, looking at the figure under the moonlight, Longao was a little surprised. However, he still didn't know what to do. When he entered the heaven and earth chessboard, he happened to meet Yi Dege's father, Yi Xian. He promised Yi Xian that he would help him clean up his family and kill Yi Dege. No matter how stupid Longao was, he had already sensed that Yi Dege was definitely not an ordinary person. Not to mention anything else, just the 99 steps were enough to explain everything. Senior Yi, long time no see. How have you been? Ha ha ha, Longao, I really didn't expect that in just a few years you would be able to achieve what you have today. It's really rare, really rare. Yi Dege's face was full of news. He didn't feel any sadness because of the destruction of the heaven and earth sect. It was as if the death of an ant was the most ordinary thing. Senior Yi, before you and I talk, shouldn't we first introduce your true identity? He was a little surprised. Yi Dege's expression changed again and again. In the end, he still smiled. His face was full of praise as he said, Longao, you are really smart. In 10,000 years, you are the first person to guess my identity. Other than the heavenly Tao itself, your guess is right. The godly mathematician is my father. As expected. Although he had already guessed it, Longao still felt that it was inconceivable when he heard Yi Dege's answer. Even if he was beaten to death, no one would have thought that Yi Dege's father was the #1 person in the Heaven Martial continent, the godly mathematician. Chapter 1709. This was not right. If the godly mathematician was Yi Dege's father, then what about Yi Xian? He was a little confused. Longao had an intuition that Yi Dege, who was in front of him, was absolutely not lying. Longao trusted his intuition. Do you have any questions? Senior Yi, please explain. Since things had already come to this point, Yi Dege did not seem to want to continue hiding it. As for why he had to say it, it was not something Longao could know. In any case, Yi Dege did not say anything, and Longao did not ask. The two of them seemed to have a tacit understanding. 10,000 years ago, the seal of the sky martial continent was opened, and countless warriors from the starry sky poured into the continent. He was not surprised at all, because Longao already knew about this matter. Not only were there domain lords like Black Demon, there were even domain emperors. Although they were killed by my father in the end, I was also killed by him and died. So that was how it was. After my father's great divine ability, my primordial spirit was finally saved, and I entered the path of reincarnation. Longao did not ask about Yi Dege's true strength. In fact, it was not difficult to guess. As the son of the godly mathematician, Yi Dege's strength would not be too bad. Back then, my injuries were too severe. It hurt the foundation of my primordial spirit. It was too difficult to recover. At this point, Yi Dege's face was filled with sadness and loneliness. One wrong step, and all wrong steps. He would never be able to turn back, but he could not resent anyone. If he wanted to resent someone, he could only resent himself. I've reincarnated for a total of 10 lifetimes, and every time, I've failed on the verge of success. Only this time, I finally found a chance to recover my primordial spirit, but that old man Yi Xian used it to threaten me. If my father doesn't help him break through to the starry sky realm, then he'll destroy this thing. So Yi Xian chose to self-destruct along with that thing. Longao finally understood the whole story. As for what it was, Longao didn't want to know. In any case, it had already disappeared along with Yi Xian's self-destruction. Yi Xian will always be your father. I only have one father, the godly mathematician. Yi Dege's words had already reached this point. What else could Longao say? He had nothing to say. As for avenging Yi Xian and killing Yi Dege, Longao was an idol. Why would he take the risk for nothing? If it was normal logic, Longao would definitely keep his promise. However, he never thought that Yi Xian would only use him. What a despicable and shameless Yi Xian. I'd be a fool to help you. Longao cursed in his heart. He'd already decided that he wouldn't interfere in the matter between Yi Xian and Yi Dege. Senior Yi, I would like to ask, why are you telling me these things? Now that he knew the truth, Longao finally understood why Yi Dugu was not sad at all when the Heaven and Earth sect was destroyed. With Yi Dugu's status and the Oracle's strength, not to mention a small Heaven and Earth sect, even if Yi Dugu wanted to rule the world, it would be a matter of minutes. That was indeed the case. Longao was very curious. He didn't know why someone of Yi Dugu's status and strength would tell him this. Could it be that he had nothing better to do? Longao, father thinks highly of you. What do you mean? My father is known as the Oracle. He can roughly calculate everything in the world, except for you. Father said that he can't calculate your future at all. You are a variable. Variable? He was a variable? He smiled helplessly in his heart. So, what if he was a variable? In the end, he was still just a chess piece that even he couldn't make the decision. As long as the Oracle was willing, this chess piece would vanish into thin air. Longao didn't show it, because once he was dissatisfied, it would definitely lead to a fatal disaster.
Endure.
He had to endure. Longao didn't say anything because he knew very well that it couldn't be such a simple reason. If it was really so, then Yi Dugu was a little too simple. As expected. Longao, you and I are both smart people. I don't want to beat around the bush. How about we make a deal? Let's hear it. Longao wouldn't agree casually because he didn't know what Yi Dugu wanted him to do. You help me recover the power of my spirit, and I help you break through to the starry sky realm. We each take what we need. How about that? There wasn't the slightest surprise because everything had a cause and effect. He couldn't get it for free. Longao never believed that there was a free lunch in the world. What do I need to do? I'll tell you later because you're not strong enough right now. Longao was very angry. He realized that he was not only a chess piece, but also a Longao didn't want to think about it. This was not what he wanted to see. If he wanted to reverse the situation, he must have great strength. Only then could he escape the fate of being a chess piece. Senior Yi, why did you choose me? I believe that as long as you're willing, you can easily find someone more suitable than me. For example, Long Tian, Tongzun, and the others are all the strongest under the starry sky. That was also what Longao was most curious about. His strength was still far from the top. Even if he didn't talk about the others, just the God Diviner alone seemed to be unable to do something that even the God Diviner couldn't do. Longao, this matter belongs to none other than you. When the time comes, I hope you won't refuse. Otherwise, you won't even have the chance to reincarnate. As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Dugu turned around and left. Soon, he disappeared into the vast moonlit night. Silence. Extraordinarily silent. Longao clenched his fists tightly because Yi Dugu had just threatened him, a naked threat. Relying on an awesome father. Longao smiled helplessly. It seemed that no matter how hard he worked, it was not as good as having a good father. What exactly is it? At this time, a purple figure and a white figure suddenly appeared. It was Bai Ling and Xiling. Big Brother Long, this person's true body is very strong, but you don't need to worry. His Yuan spirit is badly damaged. The only way is to fuse with the Primal Chaos Tablet. Primal Chaos Tablet? Seeing the worry on Bai Ling's face, Longao finally understood what Yi Dugu wanted. It was the Primal Chaos Tablet in his Dantian. If not for Bai Ling's reminder, he would never have guessed that what Yi Dugu wanted was the Primal Chaos Tablet. If that was the case, then the Clairvoyant Master and Yi Dugu clearly knew that the tablet was in his body. He couldn't figure it out. He couldn't figure it out at all. If that's the case, then why hasn't the Clairvoyant Master done anything? Longao knew that with the Clairvoyant Master's strength, even if he wanted to take away his Primal Chaos Tablet, he wouldn't even have a chance to resist. So, why hasn't the Clairvoyant Master done anything? Was there something fishy going on? Chapter 1710. Longao, just now my sister and I thought of a possibility. There's only one explanation. What explanation? A bad feeling rose in his heart. It seemed that he was still a chess piece that the God Diviner had schemed against. The Primal Chaos Stone Tablet. The Primal Chaos Stone Tablets.
His heart sank.
Now that Xiling had said this, Longao also felt that there was something fishy about this matter. It was definitely related to the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet. Under normal circumstances, the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet was so enticing that there was no way the God Diviner wouldn't try to snatch it. There was definitely something fishy going on. But the result? The God Diviner had no intention of doing anything. Big Brother Long, according to my sister and my guess, the reason the God Diviner hasn't done anything is because he wants to borrow your special constitution to nurture the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet. Was his special constitution? Longao was very clear that Xiling and Bailing wouldn't trick him. A scheme. A trick. Even if he knew the God Diviner was scheming against him, so what? He had the power to do so. With the God Diviner's power, he didn't need to worry about losing the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet. As long as he was still in the Martial Heaven continent, it would be fine. Longao finally realized that he had been schemed against several years ago. He had become a chess piece of the God Diviner. Longao, Yidogu has already made his stance clear. As long as your cultivation base breaks through to the Starry Sky realm, and you use the power of the Starry Sky to nurture the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet, I trust that it won't be long before the God Diviner and Yidogu make a move against you. So that's how it was. Longao still couldn't figure it out. Why did the God Diviner choose me? Longao was very self-aware. In the Sky Martial Continent, among the countless martial artists, there were many people with powerful innate talents. There were also many Nirvana Rebirth martial artists. As long as the divine mathematician was willing, he could create a Starry Sky martial artist at any time. Since that was the case, why had the God Diviner chosen him? He couldn't figure it out. He really couldn't figure it out. Xiling helplessly said, Longao, I think the God Diviner also didn't choose you in the past. It's just that even he didn't calculate that the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet would choose you for no reason, and two of them at that. So that was the case. In the vast universe, there are a total of 12 Primal Chaos Stone Tablets. Anyone who possesses them can become a super powerhouse in the vast universe. However, for tens of millions of years, no one has been able to snatch the Primal Chaos Stone Tablets from the hands of these 12 super powerhouses. Longao didn't say anything. It could be said that he knew nothing about the vast starry sky. I don't know why 2 Primal Chaos Stone Tablets would appear in the Martial Heaven continent. I won't make any wild guesses. Xiling, what should I do? Longao knew Xiling very well. If he didn't have a solution, Xiling wouldn't have said so much. It seemed like Xiling had a solution. Sister, you have to help Brother Long help. How can we help? Even if we were in our prime, we wouldn't necessarily be a match for Master God Diviner, let alone now. Thinking of this, Xiling's face instantly darkened. Sister, what's wrong? If I'm not mistaken, Master God Diviner should already know that the two of you are in my body. However, he hasn't done anything strange. What Xiling had thought of, Longao had also thought of. It wasn't just Xiling. Even Longao's expressions darkened. If Master God Diviner knew, why hadn't he done anything? Longao knew that even if Master God Diviner's cultivation base was at the Starry Sky Domain King's level, he still had the Yuan spirits of 2 Starry Sky Domain Kings. Even if Master God Diviner didn't need to devour the Starry Sky Domain King's Yuan spirits, he could refine them into Yuan spirit puppets to help him. Given Master God Diviner's power, he wouldn't even have a chance to resist. Longao, what do you think? Master God Diviner is really strange. It shouldn't be possible that he doesn't know about you. Since he hasn't done anything, there's only one explanation. It's because of the Chaos Tablets. If my cultivation base can break through to the Starry Sky realm, I can use the power of the stars to nurture the Chaos Tablets. Once Yidogu obtains the tablets, there's no telling if Master God Diviner will do anything. Your analysis makes sense. I think so too. The legend of the Chaos Tablets was there for all to see. Master God Diviner's intentions were clear. As long as he and his son could devour the Chaos Tablets, they would undoubtedly become the masters of the tablets. When that time came, it would be easy for them to dominate the universe. Even Master God Diviner couldn't resist the temptation of the Chaos Tablets. What you said makes sense. If I'm not mistaken, Master God Diviner should have obtained 2 Chaos Tablets. However, he couldn't devour them, let alone refine them. Longao finally understood why Master God Diviner had chosen him. Besides the fact that the Chaos Tablets had chosen him, the more important reason was that Master God Diviner couldn't devour the Chaos Tablets. If he waited until he finished nurturing the Chaos Tablets, Master God Diviner wouldn't let go of them. Since he had already fused with the Chaos Tablets, there was only one way to take them away. That was to kill him and forcibly take the Chaos Tablets from his body. Longao, Master God Diviner doesn't know that you have 2 Chaos Tablets in your body. Therefore, no matter what happens, don't reveal them. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it. The 2 Chaos Tablets in your body actually fused into one. Whether this is a good or bad thing, I can't predict. This was also the reason why Longao was depressed. 2 Primal Chaos Stone Tablets fusing into a single Primal Chaos Stone Tablet was something that had never happened before. Just as Violet Spirit had said, whether this was a good or bad thing, even he himself didn't know. As for the matter of revealing the Primal Chaos Steel, Longao was also powerless. In the future, if Master God Diviner forced his hand, the fact that he had devoured 2 Chaos Tablets would definitely be leaked. When that time came, it was unknown whether Master God Diviner would let him go. Things were really troublesome. What should he do? Longao, I have a way to avoid Master God Diviner. Let's hear it. Based on my predictions, I believe that in less than 3 years, your cultivation will officially break through to the Starry Sky realm. When that time comes, you will be able to come and go as you please in the Starry Sky. That way, once you enter the vast Starry Sky, it won't be easy for Master God Diviner to find you. Longao had a general understanding of Xilinx's plan. In the vast Starry Sky, there were countless planes. Although Master God Diviner was a Starry Sky region emperor, he couldn't dominate the entire Starry Sky. As long as he could break through to the Starry Sky realm and step into the vast Starry Sky, he would be able to sit back and relax. P.S. Tomorrow is the last week of May. Little 9 will explode in the last 7 days of this month. At least 5 chapters a day. The more the better. I hope everyone will support me. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.